All right, good afternoon, everybody, and happy Friday. This is the last day of our public hearings. I hear from my cabinet heads and department heads as we formulate the FY26 budget. And first of all, I want to thank City Council from Ward 8, Azalea Govan, who is here. She's faithfully been here through the majority of our budget hearings all week, as has Ward 6 City Council Victor Davila and Finance Chair, City Council Ward 7, Tim Allen, and I would assume they'll probably be joining us in the very near future. I want to thank my CAFO, Kathy Bunnell, and Deputy CAFO, Lindsay Hackett, and Budget Director, Chris Frazier, the whole finance team, award-winning finance team, for their continued and dedicated efforts. As I always do, we thank all cabinet heads, department heads, and rank and file of Team Springfield for all their efforts to keep us moving forward. This budget process is nearing nearly $1 billion. $671 million is on the school side, which with the ed reform, I cannot touch that money, although we supplement the net school spending, and also about $42 million on busing, transportation to make sure our students get to school. Many people think that comes on the school side, it comes on the city side. Ours will probably be a little bit south of $400 million. Unrestricted governmental aid from the state is about $47 million, and that gets eaten up quickly because many costs are already incurred that we have to pay every year. We've been able to, I'm proud to say, we've been able to balance the budget for 10 consecutive years without the use of any reserves, which is unheard of in an urban center. In other words, we're spending what we're taking in, we are spending. We are hopeful to continue to do that again this year. And, you know, we have proud that we've been able to build a healthy and respectful reserve of $71 million. That's built all on the city side. But as we move forward, we want to continue to build new schools, rehab schools. We've done that to the tune of about $1 billion, the most in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and keep many of our other programs and services to our residents and business community going. The uncertainty, and I was with a business group the other night, the uncertainty and the unpredictability and the non-continuity of what's going on the federal level. And that's important to business people because they want to be able to invest their money and they want to be able to grow. Is causing not only them, as we say in Italian, upset stomach agita, but also here on the local level and state level. And speaking with being with Governor Healy a couple of times the last week or so, the hit on the state side, if all federal funding was to be cut, would be $16 billion with a B. On the city side, it would be $55 million, and on the school side, it would be $75 million, hitting Title I for about 26 million, which is programs that enhance our educational system, hitting disability type programs, I think about $7 million, and hitting free school lunch, which is 20-something million on it. So when we're preparing this budget, we have to be cognizant that we want to keep things going. And so I directed my cabinet heads and department heads to put in two versions. One would be try to keep status quo. In other words, let's keep things going. I don't say level fund, let's keep things going. And then also to come in with a 3% budget cut, which would really amount to probably $2.97 million of cuts if we have to take those cuts or more. And I also wanted to know the narrative. That was extremely important to me. How would this affect direct customer services to our residents and business community? Because that's a big decision-making thing on how something needs to be cut or not cut, moving forward. So with that, we're gonna prepare for the worst and hope for the best. You know, we're gonna have a can-do attitude, as we move forward. And again, I'm proud of all the departments and, the cabinet heads and, the deputies and rank and file all the way down, because they did follow the assignment, that put forth the CAFO, Bono on that. And the last thing I'm gonna say is that, some of the departments, especially, we had, Health and Human Services in, yesterday, could be affected very heavily with Fed cuts. Echo Dev, which is under Chief Development Officer Tim Sheehan, could be affected heavily with the federal cuts that are possibly going to occur. So, you know, we want to make sure we grid would be able to handle that as we move forward. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kathy Bono for some opening statements, and then the Chief of Staff Bill Baker and City Councilor Zeta Govan for some opening statements. Kathy?
Thank you, Mayor. So as the mayor said, we asked for a level service funded budget. And we did estimated revenues. We're very conservative, and we are right now at a $20 million gap. So that's why we asked for cuts. We didn't incorporate any of the cuts you suggested into this budget yet, because the mayor, as he said, wanted to listen to what the 3% cuts would be. We will have to cut. There's a $24 million gap, and that isn't even taking into consideration what could happen at the federal level. We just have no idea. On top of salaries, there's programs that could devastate residents in Springfield that could be cut. So we're just taking this day by day. But as I said, this budget is far from balanced. There's a $24 million gap as of right now.
Thank you, Kathy. And we're joined by City Councilor and Finance Chair Tim Allen. Again, as I indicated in my earlier comments, been very faithful in attending these budget hearings and in the past, the budget hearings that I held. When Kathy talks about the cuts possibly have to be made, we also have to be cognizant. We want to keep our bond ratings up. We have the highest bond ratings in the city's history, AA, negative stable, which allows us, when we do have to do bonding, to get a better price to do those projects moving forward. So that's extremely important. Billy, any opening comments? Okay, let me turn it over to Councilor Govan and Councilor Allen for opening comments. And again, I appreciate they've been very dedicated in attending these meetings. And this is where all the nuts and bolts, the meat and potatoes happens here. You can ask a lot of questions and know, if you don't do this, this is what happens. If you do this, this is what happens here. And hear directly from the cabinet heads, department heads. So Councilor Govan, please.
Thank you, Mayor Sarno, and again, thank you for having me here. I'm really glad to be here representing the residents of the city of Springfield, and I'm really excited that you are continuing to look at how we can save money. We know that just as the city is struggling and is in uncertain times, our residents are experiencing that uncertainty as well. There's a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress out there because of it. And I want us to keep that in mind when we go forward. I know I'm here already thinking about property taxes, which is my thing, I guess. And that's because that's what I'm hearing from the residents. We just heard about the Eversource issue where the Eversource is increasing their rates. And as we know, everything is increasing in price except for the salaries or the income of the people that we're serving. So I'm glad to be here. I look forward to asking some good questions if I have them. And was here to listen to more. Again, I have to leave at 2:30, so I apologize.
Oh, no,
Thank you.
very faithful. Thank you, Councilor Govan.
Thank you.
Finance Chair, Councilor Allen.
I think there'll be a day, maybe next year, if I get reelected or whatever, that I'll give them time. I'm always 5 minutes late.
You're
But
fine.
I've heard the opening.
You've heard this, everybody's heard this spiel, so, and just to let you know too, what, Councilor Govan Zeta has indicated too, we say it all the time, working with the city council, we have put a myriad of tax relief programs and issues. In fact, that's been spoken about, assessors was here, et cetera. Councilor Allen.
No, it's great to be here the last couple of days, and here as well. I concur with what Councilor Govan said, and I'm just here to do my best with understanding the needs of these 5 departments today and asking some good questions. That's it. So appreciate y'all coming and putting your time into this and doing a good budget, and we'll try to do our part, with reviewing it right and, eventually approving it.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. And as Councilor Allen indicates, after this budget process is done, then we will put together an overall budget, and the CAFO, Kathy Bono, and I will announce what the budget buys. And simultaneously, that will be given to the city council so they can do their due diligence, and they will also hold their own hearings. And then at that point in time, when those hearings are done, the council president, Attorney Mike Fenton, will call an overall meeting, and I'll present to the full city council with all the cabinet heads and department heads, and then we're hopeful of approving another successful budget moving forward. With that, we're gonna open up with HR and labor relations, and that's Attorney Bill Mahoney. Caitlin Julius, please.
Get out of the way.
Yeah.
You can have.
I want to thank Attorney and Director Bill Mahoney and Caitlin, but I want to just, I'm sure they're going to, but just a couple of things. We continue to move forward in resolving contracts. And that's another thing with the budget. We are gonna honor all our labor contracts moving forward. So I appreciate that. And I also want to thank HR for their continued recruiting efforts. As we go out there to try to fill positions, Bill, you and Kate, and I know we're going to different avenues in and out of the city to try to fill those positions. So with that, Attorney Mahoney, Bill, I'll turn it over to you to make your presentation, please.
Great, thank you, Mayor. So we have a number of functions that we're responsible for. You touched on recruitment, but application management is important. We do background checks, query checks, I-9 certifications. We do the onboarding, personnel file maintenance, leave management, civil service administration. We manage the unemployment, workers' comp, and employee assistance program for city and school departments. We manage the DOT drug testing program, including pre-employment, random, post-accident, follow-up, return to duty testing. We do training for city departments. This can be something from Excel training for employees in one of the clerk's offices, to workers' comp management, how to handle a grievance. We do these lunch and learns, we're actually in this room with our department heads and our deputies. We are in negotiations with 13 of our unions right now. 9 of the unions are under contract through June 30th or later. And we're in active negotiations with 5 at this point. We do grievance administration. We have a small team in the labor relations component of HR labor relations, and they handle representing the city in arbitration, administrative hearings at civil service, MCAD, JLMC, Department of Labor Relations. We go to state and federal court. We've been at the Supreme Judicial Court with the attorneys in labor relations in the past. In FY26, we will continue to have, we hope to have 9 employees. That would be 8.5 FTEs as 1 employee is part-time. 1 position is currently vacant, but we anticipate posting that on April 1st. To touch on advertising, we do all sorts of things in order to get the word out. The city is a great employer and we have opportunities for people. We attend college fairs throughout the year. We set up tables at the Pride Parade and pancake breakfast to sit and meet with folks as they're walking by and talking to us about opportunities. Katie is a star of the Mass Appeal show, where she's there multiple times. I think she's going to get her own segment. Focus Springfield works with us on creating videos to recruit for police and fire and dispatch. Those videos are on YouTube. We hope that we're getting some exposure there. We use exclusive online job sites such as MMA and Indeed, SGR. We have proposed a small increase in our advertising budget so we can target certain positions which seem to be more difficult than others. We use NeoGov as our online application management system. Through March 13th, we had received 4,000 applications this year, 4,031 for 134 postings. It's about a 30.08 average per posting, which is great. We were about 20 last year in it. So there is a tide turning where we're getting more and more interest in our positions. We've done some fun things, public employee recognition week. We have basketball free throw contest. I'm usually at a disadvantage due to my height, but I try. At least this year I will. We have an ugly sweater contest, a Halloween costume contest. We have a cornhole contest, which I excel in, Mayor, because it's not a height issue.
I stuck in that.
Actually, I think I saw you yesterday. I'm not gonna argue with you about it, but we're talking about my budget. So, I thought you were great. I think you won. You will win this year.
No,
We have a small increase in our professional services due to expected increases from some of our vendors. We increased the unemployment administration fee, as we've reapportioned that with the city. I think that was seen in last year's budget. One of the questions I know, Mayor, that comes up is what's the 3% cut?
Yeah, I always ask, how does that affect customer service or direct services to our residents and our business? And I also want to thank Focus Springfield, and I want to thank the Republican, is recorded, is also here too. She's been very faithful attending this, so we appreciate that. Yeah, I always ask that question though, to every cabinet head, department head. How is it, that narrative is big, how does it affect? Is there a big negative effect to the residents or business community?
I think there would be, Mayor. We have a really lean department and a lean budget as is. And if we were to cut 3%, reluctantly, we would probably cut one of our EAP programs. This service is available to all of our employees. The service provides both masters and PhD counselors to anybody, and typically EAP comes in when people are at the hardest part in their lives. It's usually when things are going well and it's a sunny day. That's not when people need it the most. They need it when it's pouring out and they need some help. So we provide this service. They do financial counseling, they do wellness coaching, unlimited wellness coaching. We have a bank of training videos that we use with our employees through this EAP provider. That's probably where we would have to cut if we were to take 3% out of the budget. The other stuff is just, it's the nuts and bolts of running HR that I really don't see a way of cutting it out.
You have an additional request for service, if you can expound on that, so.
Sure, so, a few years back, HR, was fortunate to be able to scan a lot of our records, so that we actually have a backup to the paper copies that we have. But we do about, 5,000 new records a year. And there's a lot of manual pieces to it. This would actually give us the ability to do automated records management. The software would let us not only add, manage, but also search records. It would just make it so much more efficient down in HR. Everyone does these sexual harassment forms. We would do that all online now, and you just automatically go into the files. They would be signed electronically and go into the files. Same thing with our residency forms. Everyone, as you know, we send those out every year. We get them back. It's a very manual process as we go through it. We'd be able to have all that stuff just done out, electronically, and come back electronically. We'd be able to search electronically. I think it would really help us quite a bit. So it's our one ask if we can.
And that's about 20,000. I know your cut's about 22.5. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there an ongoing cost once you buy the software?
Yeah.
What's the yearly cost?
About 20.
It's about
20,000 a
Oh,
year?
it's 20 a year?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so that's not just to get the program.
So, there's a couple different platforms that we could go with.
Okay.
We looked at to get quotes. There was one that it was a more of an upfront cost and then would drop down. But I'm guessing, you know, we'd obviously have to go through the procurement process if awarded for this.
Okay.
So if we could, there's a potential that we could go with the one that would drop down.
Or as
after the
long as,
initial year.
as long as it's providing the services, Bill, and you
Yeah.
need.
So the thing with like our record retention is we keep active files for every single employee seasonal temp. And then once you leave, we have to keep that file for 20 years. So it's just the amount of, you know, we have a very small department, so it's the amount of time we have to put
Yeah.
into just keeping files accurate. You know, you could ask me for a file at any moment for quarter, anything like that, and I need to make sure I can give you a full file. And it's just with a small department with so many things we want to do with, you know, recruiting, retention, it really just ties our hands on some things. And this would be a game changer. It would also allow all of our employees to fill out these forms electronically. And so I wouldn't be chasing people to get this section or some policy sign off because I could, you know, they could do it right online. They don't have to print it, send it in or anything like that.
I think you can tell Mary that Katie's kind of on the cusp of whether she wants the program or not. So,
I cried about
Can you, I mean, did you talk to IT? Because I could see a upfront cost, but I mean, I'm gonna be honest, we're not gonna increase your budget 20,000 every year going forward. So,
Yeah. I haven't talked to
can
anybody
you work, see if there's something that we could do it up front and then just a maintenance cost kind of going forward? That would be something that would be.
That was what that did happen.
Okay,
It was,
okay, so if you can look at that and then get back to us,
Yeah.
because I can't, the other thing isn't realistic, but something like that could be maybe realistic.
That would
Yeah.
be more palatable. You
Yeah.
see why I call it Dr. No. And that's not the James Bond movie. And, Caitlin, I also want to thank you. Bill mentioned earlier, the activities you do. It's important. It's great morale boost for our employees. And I know a lot of the times that's done in the private sector. It was always neglected in the public sector. And that's important. It makes you feel good. You'll appreciate it, and it also builds camaraderie. But once again, I'll say on that, what do you call that game, the toss?
The cornhole.
Cornhole.
Don't make book on, don't bet on me on that, so that's great. Any other on the presentation, Attorney Mahoney?
That would be it, Mayor.
Okay, I'm gonna, Kathy, any?
No, I just want to say that the one position he's able to fill, it's been empty for a while, but that's because we do not budget for payouts for employees that retire. So we had an employee retire at the beginning of January and has not been able to fill that position because he had to pay the, you know, the
Vacation.
the
and part of
vacation
sick.
payout.
Yeah.
So he's only able to fill it now, where that would have been filled right away. He's been dying, but departments have to eat that and they're not allowed to, they can't fill the position until they've covered those costs. So that's the only reason it's not full right now.
Is that an unusual practice?
Nope.
No,
That's how we always.
I mean, and if you look at it, you would be all over me if you said, well, you're putting an extra 20,000 in
Yeah.
the budget for nothing, Kathy. And they're gonna have to raise taxes to pay for it. So no, it's not an unusual practice it's just something, the bigger departments, that's not an issue because they always have salary savings.
Smaller
The smaller
departments.
ones that only have 7, 8, 9 employees, that is an issue.
Yeah.
So they do know that they have to wait a while, before they can fill that position. So unfortunately, but he's gonna post it
Yes,
first week of April 1st. So
very excited.
very excited about that. But I wanted to tell him that's why it hasn't been filled, because we have said no until now.
Dr. No. Billy, any questions?
No, just want to give a shout out to your staff. They do a great job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Turn it over to Council Govan, Council Allen, Finance Chair Allen, for any questions or comments they might have pertaining to this segment of the budget with HR and labor relations.
Bill, so you have no vacancies except the one that you're talking about?
That's correct.
Okay, and the EAP program, do you know about how much, you're spending there now?
About $55,232 in our annual cost for this EAP program.
And I know
Okay.
that's near and dear to David. so-
Yeah, it is, because it is a very important program, and, I know I get a lot of EAP referrals. So that is an important program.
Some employees have access, many employees have access through the GIC for their EAP program, but not all of our employees have that access because
Right.
they're not in it.
Right,
Yeah.
right, okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you, Councilor Govan. Councilor Allen?
Yeah, a couple questions. One is the recent brouhaha over DEI programs from the federal government getting cut and this and that. Will that impact anything on there? we have DEI programs or,
Well, we certainly have a chief diversity and inclusion officer. We have, our affirmative action policies. Our diversity, inclusion officer, is very involved in our process and actually has the ability to sit in on any of our interviews that we conduct. And can add people to the interview panel as long as they're qualified, so that, if we think that, hey, we need to expand the opportunities for folks. But we have an extremely diverse workforce. It's not a secret, and when you look at our police and fire departments, which are our largest departments on the city side of government, they're extremely diverse. It's not a huge issue for the city.
Yeah, we are at, head of parity on both.
We are.
Fire and police, and that goes from the top ranks on down. And Judy Crowell and that, she was really involved in a lot of recruiting that we go out there.
Yeah.
From high schools on up to try to bring people in, to make them aware of the positions, whether it's police, fire, and all positions across, the city of Springfield on it. So that's really been the majority of things about, recruitment and expanding the pool, of getting the word out there that these positions are available. Plus we do the, besides internships, we have hired people. Fire department has hired people. DPW has hired people again. IT has hired people through our pipeline of, high school, especially Putnam Vocational Technical Academy and Sci Tech, which does the night program, now. So that's what's been the basic function, on it, to offer opportunities. We are cognizant though, that we have to be aware that what the tea leaves might be coming, on the federal level. And listen, I get it. There's a new sheriff in town, new president, and, we all want to be more efficient and effective, and God forbid, guard against any waste or fraud. I get it, but there's a surgical way to do it, not a sledgehammer or a chainsaw way to do it. And I've said it before, I'll work with anybody, Republican, Democrat, Independent, anybody that wants to benefit our city residents and business community, I will work with he or she, even if we don't agree on things all the time. So I've been pretty steadfast on it. But, we do have some components, but the components are really about jobs, giving people the opportunity to compete for jobs. That's what we are.
Judy helped a lot too with the recruiting and retention of veterans, seniors.
Yes.
And college and high school graduates as well.
So that's really been our focus on, that, include that, that's been our focus on that.
is that who you're referring to when you say there's someone that's in
Yes.
shooting?
Yeah.
Yep, report struck
Out of my office.
Right.
And
That's great. Okay. The other question is just, I don't want to start big discussion on here, but the impact of residency, because one thing we hear at the council is that we could hire this person, we didn't have residency, that sort of thing. Can I get your perspective on it? I know we fought in the halls for 10 years or 5 years, a few years ago, Bill, but how much of an impact is it really?
It does, it does have an impact. I think when we had those conversations 10 to 12 years ago, it was a different economy and it was a different city. I mean, the city has changed, in the past dozen years. And I think that, the economy has had a tremendous impact on our ability to, attract and retain. I think it's just, and to Capitol's point of view, the horizon is, could be, actually, in my opinion, frightening. I think Kathy didn't use that word, but I'll use that word. I mean, I don't think 27 could be, really hard for us.
To keep people, to hire?
No.
I think just the city's budget.
Just the budget itself.
The city's finances.
FY26 is challenging, but
Yeah.
it's challenging, but Kathy's right. We got FY27 could even, because then you're gonna see the ramifications of what occurs or doesn't occur. That's the other thing, the uncertainty now. What's gonna occur on the federal level? Rumors and innuendos, forget about daily, hourly, and, hey, you gotta make some, we need to know what the moves are gonna be made, for the pro or con so that we can properly plan from there, but, as Bill's, it's changed, and I'm gonna thank the city council. We worked very, very well when we had to, Bill and Kate will tell you, we put out for positions 2, 3, 4 times.
Yeah.
Specialized positions. And I have to think, we have to think of the residents and the business community for specialized positions, and the councils worked well. After 2, 3, 4 times, then we get a qualified candidate, then we work together and say, hey, we have to bring he or she in, because we have to perform these functions for the residents and visitors, so that's been great. And the council also has gained some flexibility, but I'll let Bill expound on it a little bit more.
Yeah, so one of the things that we see, when we're looking and talking with our candidates is that, a lot of folks who bought their homes 5 years ago, bought it at a 2.5% interest rate, fixed mortgage. And if we are trying to get them to move into the city, they have in the back of their mind, one, the city, housing values have gone up precipitously. I mean, it's been a renaissance in city housing values. But after that, now you're buying at a 7% mortgage. So you're selling your house and you're buying maybe at the same value, but your cost is gonna be significant because you have a higher interest rate. And, we're trying, and they're looking at us saying, well, what are you gonna do for us on the salary? Like, well, we're limited what we can do with the salary. So all of a sudden, we might be out of the market with some folks as a result of that.
And again, my credo's always been everything equal, you stay Springfield, whether it's vendors, procurement, or hiring. But when you look at it and the inventory, I don't know, it was maybe months and months ago, but the inventory for housing in Springfield was as low as 58 homes on it. So, that's what we're going through right now. And, so we're trying to do some flexibility and we want the best person here too, but everything being equal, if the best person Springfield person gets a nod, or the Springfield company gets a nod, following all proper procurement and bidding procedures.
I will say there is the interest out there to work for the city, we're out.
I mean, there was a comment 10 minutes ago about, you said something about it's breaking a little, people are more interested in.
Yeah, they
jobs or
want to
something.
come work with us, yeah.
If you look at our hits, so a hit on our application system is anyone who viewed our positions. And our hits are, through the roof, it's very high, but it's not translating to applicants. So, it says right on the application residencies that there could be multiple different things, but, we're out there recruiting. Next week, we're at AIC, we're at the Basketball Hall of Fame, we're at HEC, and that's just next week. And the interest is there. People come talk to us, they want to apply. But there is a barrier that our hits aren't translating necessarily into applications.
Mayor,
Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to comment on what the city council did a few months ago regarding the residency. They have 2 years now to move in to the city until I think 2026. So hopefully that will help. And I really appreciate your efforts in, recruiting from Springfield. And of course, I'm open to certainly, waiving something if it needs to be done, it's not just a definitely no,
Council's been good.
so
Very few.
that's an option. And I actually, Mayor, if I may, have a question for, Kathy. I know you probably said it before and I just didn't hear. The $24 million gap that you're talking about, where is that at, or where's that coming from?
That is what we did, is we took the total expenses of all the departments' requests for level service, not level funded, their level service, they maintain services, and what we've estimated for next year's revenues. So it's our revenues over expenses is now $24 million. But in that, we haven't included the 3% grants.
Right.
Aren't in there, and some of the grants that I wanted to ask each department, are you getting it? Are you not getting it? Have you heard anything? Have you been contacted, et cetera? So those will come out. I mean, that won't even get us down to single digits, but I mean, then we have to go back in, compare the revenues. We're gonna look at the revenues after the March 31st numbers are closed. We're gonna look at those, see if we can increase any of those, and then we're gonna see other cuts we can make, because
I was gonna say,
we will be,
you
making.
should have asked for 6%, Mayor.
Well,
Sorry.
Well, you gotta remember that, you have to remember that you always start with a deficit. We have costs that we have to pay every year that go up. Health insurance hasn't officially come out, but I think we're gonna probably be 10% or, usually been in single digit. I just read an article of so many communities all around us here are experiencing 10 to 20% increase. We're in the GIC, so we've been able to cap that. It used to be a budget buster. Sometimes you get whacked with 25% increases years ago. And then, we're very, and I'm proud of the financial division, we're very conservative in what we feel we're taking in, so usually we get a little bit ahead of the curve, but you mentioned it the other day, the old days before the Lindsay, what was it, chapter 653?
656.
656, you used to be able to make your budget that you were going to attain 100% tax collection every year. And the city years and years ago was probably collecting at an 88, 87% clip. So now you was really starting out with a structural deficit. We're about mid to high 90s now in our collection of taxes, which is very, very good. But you mentioned about a 6% cut. Now, when you start looking at 6% cut, you're talking about bodies and
I
you're
mean,
talking
it
about
would devastate
services.
their department, and our revenues, DOR has to sign off on them, so it's not even like
So-
Lindsay and I can sneak a number in there because they have to
So
agree.
you have health
And if it's a
insurance.
huge increase, they're gonna say, where did this come, justify this, and they do come back at us, so, it's a balancing act, and we're at
But
the
you have
beginning of it.
health insurance, pension, we've been very aggressive in the pension obligations, working with the council. That's been I commend the Councilor Allen and the council president, Attorney Mike Fenton. We worked together on that. We're very aggressive on that. At one time, when we took over, it was 20%. I think we're in the 40s now, and we feel we're gonna meet that mark. It's 2034. We have
We have till
2040
2040.
on that. The other thing, because of our financial stability and strength, again, working with Councilor Allen and Council President Fenton, the T-bills, treasury, bills, we brought that up before. Automatically, Zeta, it just goes to you.
This is for you.
We garner, we're able to turn around 9 months or a year. It'll be about $2 million. That goes immediately into a tax relief fund, that we look to do on that, but, so. If cuts have to be made or more cuts have to be made, we'll be surgical on it. And, the other thing is that, again, we have not used any reserves in 10 years. I hope we don't have to use them. I'm not ruling that we wouldn't look at them if we had to, specifically on, core services, but this is, again, the meat and potatoes and nuts and bolts come out at this point in time, so.
And I have every confidence that you will do
Yeah.
what you need to do for our city. Thank you.
Jay, you have any other questions, Jen?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Tim,
I'll say.
Billy? Hey, who won that thing, by the way? What'd you have? Shamrocks or something going on?
We've had a lot of winners so far. We hit 31 of them. So we really try to get it to our departments that aren't just City Hall.
Good.
And so we're still waiting on the answers. That's
So,
everyone.
I know it's it's still St. Patrick's Day weekend, so I wore my Aer Lingus tie when Congressman Rich and I, the straight flights to Ireland announced a few years ago, but in Italian, this would be the Aer Linguini tie. All right, so other questions,
Thank
we
you.
gotta have some levity.
Gonna wear it on Sunday.
I'm gonna be bundled up on Sunday morning. Okay, so I think I'll have a mock tour, and that's a great parade, and more power to Hoyle. It's a great event for all Western Mass. Thank you, Bill. Thanks, Dave. We're now gonna bring up Echo Dev with Chief Development Officer Tim Sheehan, and then we're gonna have that's with also Building and Housing Code and Deputy Mark Hebrams. Building Commissioner Steve Deslets is away. He sends his regrets to be here. I'm on the phone. Then you have Code Enforcement. We have Keith O'Connor, Deputy Brian Connors, Phil Joe. The whole crew is here if needed. But oh, no, you got a share?
Well, Mark.
Yeah.
Mark,
Get out here.
Right here. Get out of here. No, you don't have to get out there. You kind of important. Council out there.
Man, and all the kids. What happened here? That concludes our budget hearing. DTW Larry, please, you're off the hook.
No, we're off the hook, literally, right? now.
I got a lot to say.
Really? Never seen you in that mode.
All right, we're back up. We're good. Okay, I'm sorry. We just had some technical difficulties. We're back on. We have Echo Dev here, which consists of Chief Development Officer Tim Sheehan, who I call AKA Mr. Creative. Amanda Pham, who's a deputy. Deputy Mark Hebert is Deputy Building Commissioner. Building Commissioner Steve Deslett sends his regrets. He thought he was gonna be here, unfortunately cannot be here. Code enforcement comes under this too. With Deputy Director of Code Enforcement, Keith O'Connor, Deputy Brian Connors, and the whole crew. And I always say about Director Sheehan, about being Mr. Creative. We continue to build upon well over $5 billion of economic development projects, whether in the business sector and our neighborhoods, so you name it across the board. And residential, it's been important. A lot of things going on downtown, which is a residential neighborhood, from the garage, the State Main Street development, Court Square, Mass Mutual Center, on that. The thing that we have to be cognizant, I mentioned it earlier, and Kathy, myself, Director Sheena, are keeping our eyes on this. We've been able to do a lot of good things with the federal funding we receive on CDBG, which is a lifeline to urban mayors, youth development, parks, job creation, housing development, you name it, and HUD, which is housing and anywhere from market rate down to keeping people in their homes and homes. So we gotta be really, really cognizant of that. Kathy, you have any opening comments?
No.
It's Billy? Councilors go by and Councilor Allen.
Not yet.
Just looking forward to our new development projects, whatever they are.
So, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Mayor. Just to follow up on the point
Director.
you were making relative to HUD funding. One bit of good news at the federal level is that both the CDBG funding and the home funding is into the continuing resolution at level funding. So those sources of funding at this point at least are available at level funding till the end of the federal fiscal year. So that is a bit of good news and a whole host of uncertainty.
Right.
At
Was
best.
it in his President Trump's first term though, he really held that harmless from what I remember the
Actually, we did
CDBG.
well in terms of CDBG going
They went
forward.
I would hope maybe there'd be a history of.
They went up under and they went down under Biden,
Yeah.
so
So,
they, Democrats pulled out money for their own little earmark.
So I'm gonna start with the Office of Planning and Economic Development.
Bill Dromey's here too.
The office budget is primarily personal services in terms of positions. We did go through a fairly significant restructure in terms of staffing. So I don't have any wish list item for you because the positionings that we needed to establish, we have established, and I want to thank Kathy for her help in getting that through. The only thing that I would call your attention to in terms of the adjustment in the budget is we are moving the zoning code enforcement, which would be the zoning administrator and two of the inspectors over to the OPED side of the ledger from the building department. And the purpose for this is to have the zoning code inspectors and administrator have more interaction directly with the planning department and also a greater degree of interaction with the Office of Neighborhoods. I think it's essential that there be more integration in terms of our code enforcement at the zoning level, be more aligned with the concerns that are coming out of the 17 neighborhoods of the city.
And Coach Ed Whitley does a great job with that, and, Timmy, in your direction, housing code enforcement. I know neighborhood sweeps have just started too. I know we hit Lower Commonwealth Avenue in the X area there at CBS too, quality of life, issues on that.
As part of the reorg, we also brought in a position that is a neighborhood planner. So this effort would also be bringing the neighborhood planner into the code enforcement equation as well.
And, I also, Tina Quagliano and Sullivan, I want to give a shout out. These individuals, and Tim's leadership, very instrumental, especially during the COVID days and ARPA getting, businesses and residents, neighborhoods and nonprofits, the funding they needed on that, seems like, well, 5 years now with the COVID on it. So you're saying, as far as there's no new request, but Tim, what Counselor Allen said, maybe you want to highlight, we have a myriad of programs, a myriad of developments going on, and more to be announced in the very near future. Maybe if you want to give an update on all the developments that we have going on.
Sure. As most of you all know, McCaffrey is in the process of advancing into construction. They were in town a week or so ago and gave an update as to where they're at. They're starting with some interior work in the next couple of weeks. So that's advancing. The city has finally acquired the old chicken building and is advancing that for redevelopment as well. And as part of the overall development for McCaffrey, one of the problems that was identified relative to the whole South Main District was the sea of surface parking that's in that area. So it was part of stabilizing that and making more land available for development as opposed for parking. There's a parking garage that's integrated into that development plan as well. That we're putting the capital stack together on. We have the design pretty well established at this point. So that is all advancing, and that should be a really good complement to really strengthening the market rate housing position of the city in the downtown. Along with 31. We met with the developers just a few weeks ago. They had a little bit of a turn in the first year of folks turning over, and they actually increased rent rates, and they are 100% occupied. There are a number of private sector projects that are advancing for housing as well. Some of them on the North Main Street side. We're hearing that housing developments being proposed relative to the building 1618 Main Street, which incorporates the fort, and also a housing component associated with the Paramount. And as the counselors know, we continue to look at the Viber site and trying to work through the concerns associated with that for redevelopment purposes as well. Eastfield Mall is advancing as well. And we'll be bringing some thoughts around that project to the council in the not too distant future in terms of looking at a potential DIF district for that area.
And then we have housing, so, market rate is important, but we also been cognizant of workforce development housing. You're gonna have the old school department come online, the Board of Pulsford does great work, and the old building used to be the welfare building, now across from Helen's shop up Upper State Street. Gemini, the city invested heavily in that and helped them lobby to get federal monies too. That's home ownership, the Gemini site, which builds generational financial equity for those of us. So
Senior housing from Brightwood.
See, that's right. We have senior housing for the old Brightwood. So there's a lot of investment going on in our neighborhoods too. I think when we speak with DPW, a lot of infrastructure improvements and Chris can go into that, so.
And you're
it's a-
seeing the emergence of the dining district.
Yeah, the dining district, and I think we might have some, can't say, but some good news on, again, State and, Main Street. Of some, dining activities, but my whole goal there is to, we want to create you know, we're gonna activate the sidewalk space, the streetscape. We want a grand promenade down into the south end area now with all the Italian American delicacies and business there. My goal is to get Anna and Leo Daniele to have La Fiorentina open in the evening for a cappuccino, espresso, or sweet-els, or that. I want to get that foot traffic north block all the way down to the south block, and then we'll start foot traffic in State Street area. And then we've done stuff. We've walked out the Orchard area with Councilor Govan, Timmy and I, and DPW. We've done infrastructure for the Main Street area there. So when you hear about all these big mega projects, which Timmy has really spearheaded and stuff. We have a lot of neighborhood stuff going on too. But as before I turn it over to Kathy, Billy, and Councilor Devon and Councilor Allen, we got to find out what happens with the federal level. I'm heartened that hopefully CDBG and HUD stays relatively, in concrete. That's huge. And then we'll see what other possible cuts we might receive. Well, Timmy, your team wants to add anything else on Echo Dev at all?
The other thing I would just add on EcoDev so that the counselors know, we're commencing the planning work around the redevelopment at the MCDI site as well.
Oh, yeah.
For 3% cut, we basically took it out of a contract that we had with PVPC. They were providing some historic planner support for the Historic Commission. That role is now being filled by the community neighborhood planner who has direct experience in running the historic commissions. So he's taking over that function. And then we eliminated seminars and as well as out-of-state travel.
So, Tim, I always ask all the cabinet heads, department heads, the 3% cut, if it has to be taken, how would that affect frontline services to constituents, with residents and business community?
For us, it's no direct frontline service
Okay.
effect. It's just basically taking away professional training.
Okay, okay. Okay, Kathy, any questions?
No, I work very closely with Tim and Amanda, so.
Okay. Billy?
Good.
Councilor Govan, Councilor Allen?
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Tim, and the whole team for the work that you guys are doing. We just had an Indian Orchard Fire Station meeting this morning. I'm so excited about it. They're getting ready to start doing the work.
Real
So
work now.
I'm excited. We're gonna be able to see it. I think they said in 6 weeks, we're gonna be able to do a small tour, so I'm excited about
With
that.
Pete Garvey.
Yeah.
So
PRV,
glad that we're able to fund that, to get
Yes,
that for you.
that was awesome. I've been waiting like 10.
I know
years
you
for
have.
that.
I know you had,
It's
you're
happening.
reminding me that all the time.
I do. And Ed and Tina, I can't say too much about them. They're the best neighborhood services directors, and we're really excited about that. The Viber side, I do want to have a conversation about that. Does the city own that?
No, not technically as
Not
of yet, and
technically,
then
not yet.
We don't want.
Oh,
we're,
can we find a developer that'd be great housing, wouldn't it?
well, we want to be cognizant of what the neighborhood feels is conducive
Mhm.
there, so that's important, but technically we don't own, as you know, we've had, these days I want to bang my head against the walls, other days I want to bang other people's heads against the wall. We've had issues with,
Yeah.
that property, and we
Mhm.
had to force the issue in court on board and securing and security. So we are, we like to get our hands on it if it's done the right way, because we are land poor. But there could be, but right now we gotta make sure that they keep, their
Mhm.
house in
Right.
order.
Right.
And then, we'll go for it, but technically, we technically, we do not own that property, as of
Yeah,
yet.
because every time we drive by it, my granddaughter, she's 9, she wants to go inside that building. I don't know why. Well, I wanna see. I think she thinks it's haunted and she likes that kind of stuff. It's weird.
Amanda does too.
Well, Amanda, you and I can take a tour.
But if it's, with Director Sheehan, if it's the right
Mhm.
deal and they cross all the Ts and Is for us, then we would
Then it would be
properly
good,
market
yeah.
it out there. But being cognizant of what the neighborhood feels is
Mhm, mhm.
conducive there.
Of
We've
course.
heard from them about what they'd like to see and what they would not like to
Mhm.
Well,
see.
and we need to recognize that, you know, at least as far as we know, there's still a lien.
That's
That's
right.
being held on the property for $10 million.
Yeah.
Okay,
So that
wow.
comes into play about
Yeah.
what we will do or
Right,
not,
right,
not
right.
do.
Yeah. Well,
So they can't give clear title.
mm, mm. Well, thank you for the news, Russ, TDBG, at least till the end of the year. So, all right, thank you. I have no more questions. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor Allen.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Two follow-ups. One was, could you describe that organizational thing you did with zoning and like, could you put names on it? So who's gonna be working with who?
Oh, it's the 2 inspectors and the zoning administrator. So Mike and the 2
Mike
inspectors
and Jay.
would come over,
Yeah.
Come over to
OPED from Bill.
OPED is planning.
Office of Planning and
Okay.
Economic Development. And when you look at the workflow, 99.9% of the work that's coming through the zoning board of appeals is directly coming from the planning department.
Mm.
Bill?
I do reviews for the Board of Appeals,
So they were under Steve Desolate and now they're gonna be under.
Well, I have all of code enforcement.
Right.
in terms of
Timmy's
positions.
the cabinet head.
So
Right,
all of the operations of code enforcement are under my purview.
all right. All right.
And as I said, the purpose of this is really to better align the zoning code with the concerns that we hear consistently coming from the neighborhood with regards to code enforcement. And, you know, integrate everyone into the neighborhood team in terms of Ed, Tina, the neighborhood planner, as well as Bill as the planning director.
Mhm.
That sounds good. Okay, thanks. And secondly, on the buying the chicken building, where we are.
Yeah.
What do we, you lost me on this, all the street level parking that, I've heard that in the past, but. You know, too much surface parking.
Yes, when you look at the Main Street Convention Center plan area, which basically goes from Harrison all the way down to Union. In that particular area from State to Union, over 60% of the land area is surface parking. And there's nothing that's more deadening from an urban planning perspective than an isolated surface parking, because it doesn't contribute anything back
Mhm.
in terms of activation, street level activation.
So most of it's on the other side of State Street.
Most of it is across from the casino.
Right, right. So I mean.
So that's why we'll have on Cross Street, we're gonna have the garage, which will deal with all the amenities, housing amenities and business amenities, and retail and other things that come down there.
So what happens is you don't end up with an equal both sides of the corridor in terms of a dual loaded corridor. You have the casino side, which is great in terms of its development, but the other side ultimately isn't fully activated because of that surface parking.
It's, but there's part of me is thinking that the parking is good in a way, because I mean, I know they have the massive garage, but parking serves a negative effect on development.
Well, parking is required for development.
Yeah.
It's the way that you implement the parking.
Mhm.
And surface parking is, again, not most effective use of land area.
And it heats up the city because the pavement.
There's environmental issues with it too. But
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you.
Any other questions?
We'll give a shout out to Brian Connors.
Yeah, we're gonna move to, building code again. Deputy Mark Hebert is here and code enforcement.
Thank you.
And I have to say, Mark, to you and Commissioner Dessler, to Steve and Keith O'Connor, especially on the building side, and also follow through on the code, housing code enforcement side, but many developers that I speak to, business people, really always comment how business friendly we are here to work with developers, work with existing businesses. And that gets around. That gets around to other businesses that are here or looking here, saying that the department will always, always work with you within the law and try to facilitate and get things done. I've heard that a number of times on recent developments that a business that have just opened up, working with it. So I commend you, on that. So Deputy, first I'll say Director Sheen and the Deputy Hebert, if you want to open up with a presentation on building department and on housing code enforcement, which is headed by Keith O'Connor.
Sure, I'll keep going for that part if you
Okay,
want.
yeah.
For the building portion, we're just, what percentage change? What percentage change, we're asking for 2.9%. Most of it is personal services, and this is due to contract obligations. There's not much of an increase over previous years. And like Tim said, 3 positions will be leaving as far as switching over to another division. So that's a reduction of 10% of staff for that portion. I don't know if there's anything else really to charge obligations. We have a new software that we're working on.
Oh,
to be
yeah,
more
yes.
efficient.
Online, all right?
Yes.
We're getting close to that now.
Yeah, that mid-May is our target date, and that should be a huge efficiency for us, we hope. With online permitting, enforcement, a couple other packages that come with it. So we're looking forward to that. Trying to think of anything else.
That replacing a cell.
Yeah, their Excel is antiquated now, and they're kind of holding us hostage a little bit with their fees and their services, so we decided to move along.
Mark, how many, you do numerous inspections up top, how many inspections on the building side? And re-ups have you guys done off the top of your head? I know you.
Inspections, on average, 2,000, 2,200 per inspector. So.
Yearly.
Yearly, yes,
Okay, so again, that's 2,000 to 2,200
per inspector,
per inspector yearly.
yearly, right?
Okay.
And we currently have a vacancy and one person is on administrative leave, so two vacancies at the moment. So that hurts us too. As you can see, that's 4,000 inspections there. It's actually not gonna.
And again, all your individuals, he or she must have to be certified and licensed in
Correct,
all their fields.
Yeah.
Plumbing, electrical, structural, the whole 9 yards.
correct, in their respective fields, correct.
Okay. We just, let's see here.
I would just add that the revenues seem like they're online with the projections and budget from last year.
Our revenues are doing pretty good.
We have a full complement of clerks now, which is good too, so that they're actually processing more and able to get caught up better. We use some CDBG funding as well. But
Yep.
other than that-
Yeah, just the other day, I happened to be, I was putting in 1 and 2 family dwellings, where I did up to 16 applications so far for this year, which is pretty impressive for us right at this point.
You know,
It's early in the spring.
I'm glad you mentioned that too, Amanda, because, being an old code enforcement inspector many moons ago, and, remember Commissioner Dessler, a lot of times, your department almost self-funds itself in a way, because you're inspectional, the fees that we have to charge on it.
That's our stride between the fees and the fines and things like that. Maybe change our rates at some point in the future, but we think we're okay right now for fees, for adjustments.
And Timmy, Director Sheen, I see, but we're gonna have Keith O'Connor come up with code enforcement. Building has no, unless I missed it, has no additional requests and the cut.
The only additional request is our fleet of service cars.
Same thing.
Yeah,
So it's on the
they're-
code enforcement.
They're
Okay. Your fleet.
50% of them are over 15 years old at this.
So Kathy and Chris Signoli, that The,
nothing in your
the vehicle- the vehicles are, I got a junior doctor over there. We're resurrecting, the vehicle replacement that we had, I mean, so we can do that and, we usually do it in 5 years.
We'll be in front of council soon with
Yeah.
a plan.
All right, so that's
It
the
needs
same,
attention.
same thing for housing code
Yes.
and building on it.
Didn't do a cut because it's all personnel.
It's all, okay. I just
So,
wanted to
and
clarify
I
that.
will have to say that, the building inspectors are always looking for, we don't cut those, but there is a housing inspector position open, and I did put that on hold, and because they weren't able to cut 3%, I need to see where the budget is before I approve them filling that position, because it might be one I'm gonna cut.
Sure.
So, sorry.
Not a caution, I get it.
Yeah. So that's me.
Deputy Heater, Mark, anything else you want to add, or Director Sheehan?
No.
Or Amanda? Okay, I'll open up to Kathy, Billy.
No, just the excitement for the OpenGov software for the
Mm,
permits, and that's
Yeah.
very, very well received.
Yeah.
All the neighborhood councils, the OpenGov software.
It's online, the open permits online.
Fine.
So if you need to pull a permit rather than coming down to Tapley
Yeah.
Street.
Correct.
I just
Just
remember,
grab
I
it.
don't know.
Like I said,
if I've been
efficiency
on
wise,
too
you went on
long.
our end.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a sign if I've been on the council a while, but I remember when everybody was excited about a seller,
Yeah.
Yes.
and it was the same, you
It's
know.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Having
Casella
managed-
didn't progress.
It didn't progress.
And they never, and it doesn't speak to Munis, which is
Yeah.
our soft, like, so it, and this will speak to Munis, so that's a huge thing. But it never progressed to
Yeah,
catch
they
up with
antiquated
us, so,
themselves, yeah.
that's why it was in last year's budget that they could get this.
Okay, Kathy and Billy, let me turn it over to Counselor Govan and Counselor, Financial Chair, Counselor Tim Allen, if you have any questions or comments.
No, thank you, for the work you do in our city. I really like that you came in under the budget. So, no, I don't think I have anything. Thank you. Thank you for the work you're doing.
Thank you, Counselor Allen.
The meeting we had a couple of weeks ago on ADUs, which needs a follow-up, which is on me to write up the minutes of that and to talk to Phil, but, you know, out of that meeting, we had a lot of different potential issues with ADUs. I don't know, are we still at one? Still at one, so we've had one, we've approved, Phil's approved the one. But, you know, it remains out there as an open item, whether that'll ever loosen up and becomes a bigger issue for any one of us, you know, so.
Things we've seen.
I want to thank Counselor Allen, and I told him that personally in an email for calling that meeting. And also, trying to get the state delegation involved, Representative Pupolo, Angela Pupolo, Angie is trying to file some legislation. And, you know, with Phil, pretty stalwart on it, you know, done the right way can be beneficial, but I've heard from neighborhoods too that, you know, if not done the right way, you know, people are gonna start carving up these big homes. And again, it's not owner occupied, it's not in-law stuff where somebody says, hey, this is my home here, I'm gonna have pride in it.
Right.
The other thing I'm hearing is, and again, done the right way, bed and breakfast, done the right way, when we have some done the right way. Fine, but I'm also hearing about some that, you know, or whether they're following through or not with proper inspections, you know, done the wrong way, and then it just turns into it starts to hurt a neighborhood, or it turns into a flop house. So we just want to be cognizant of that. I understand with the housing crisis we're in, and speak with Governor Healy and Governor Driscoll, Kim, who was a former mayor, and she gets it, mayors, you know, you gotta get things done yesterday. They want to increase housing. But I just think, again, I commend Counselor Allen, because if it's not done the right way, then all of a sudden you have people who've lived there for years say, hey, I had it, I'm getting out of here, right? So right now, Phil, and Timmy, there was only one that is following the proper process.
I've only received one application with my end and it hasn't been approved.
And how about with the bed and breakfast? Have you?
Well, bed and breakfast is just, those trigger a special permit through the city council.
Yeah,
Right. Airbnbs are another item.
that's, you know what,
Yeah.
that's, my apologies, the AD, yeah, that's where I apologize, I used the wrong terminology. That's where I've heard from people about, they feel, a house is being used for that, not being properly, manage, so.
Short-term rentals, yeah.
And I tell them, if you know, you really feel it's going, you let me know and I'll get, get code involved. That's what that's what.
We got a
I'm-
couple we're working on right now.
Okay, those probably ones, okay, good.
Well, you had one that, all they didn't do any permitting for all the improvements that they did, over on Springfield Street. Good. On there.
Yeah. The other one, Forest Park, okay, good, so. Okay, if there's no other questions, code, we're gonna bring up housing code enforcement.
Sure, thank you.
Keith, come on up.
He's the first timer to one of these, so.
Oh, Keith has done
I've under him.
I gotta say, and I'm not saying it to, as he's sitting there to patronize him or, part of my street vernacular BS and like, we've had some unique calls come in and, Keith at times has paid, besides his inspectional crew, has paid personal visits to those calls that we've had. And unfortunately, in your field, sometimes it is a mental health issue, on it. So I appreciate that, Keith. I appreciate, you guys are starting your neighborhood sweeps again. I know you did Commonwealth and CVS, that area around there too, on it. If you want to give a brief presentation, I know you do thousands of inspections and, last thing I say from my old days of being an old, having temporary run department, being an old young inspector, you'll do your due diligence, but sometimes you're gonna have to take things to court. And that's where things will slow up at times.
Yes.
Keith, Director O'Connor?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So our department, code enforcement house, and we are excited, for getting open gov. That's, starting. And thank you for that there. Seems like, it's gonna work well. We've been having, issues in the past, which, Kathy, in Excella with breakdowns of the software there, which was slowing us down. We have 9 inspectors, that currently are employed with us, and they do anywhere from, say, 10 to 15 inspections a day. So if you add that up weekly, we do a fair amount of inspections and re-inspections there. One of our main goals is to fight on blight in the neighborhoods there. Respond to disasters, abandoned vehicles, dumping. We try to gain compliance in regards to ultimately the goal is compliance there that we try to strive for. Like the mayor says, we have started our sweeps on the streets in the neighborhood in some of the challenging areas. We started at Commonwealth area there last week. Our goal is this coming up week to go out in the North End area, right around Calhoun Street. There, we have some properties over there. We've been getting complaints with. We go with the ordinance cops, which help us out, and we basically group everything together. It's been pretty successful there with the ordinance cops there. We're able to write up what needs to be written up on registered cars, or if the car just needs to be towed away. A lot of times we'll find stolen cars out on the properties there.
That, I just want to highlight that with the Director O'Connor, with Keith. Very popular. We created 17 years ago, the ordinance Flex Squad. And that works, mainly the initial call will come in the police, but then we work with all of, especially housing, various departments. Neighborhoods love it. It's been a home run because when you come with all the departments that have to be required there to do it. And that's been a home run for, we always strive to do more or better, but it's been helpful on the quality of life issues. So the coordination and the relationships.
And we also definitely try to accommodate the neighborhood councils groups there. I know we do get calls on a weekly basis there on different properties there. So we try to basically address those issues there quickly there. In regards to the budget request here for personal services here, FY24, It was 827,673, FY 25 adopted 9,408. $948,383. Requested FY 26, 9,062, 818, 962,818. So percentage change is 1.5%.
So which I know we're holding, I'm not saying we're holding, because I always ask, the effect of, the potential cut, how would that affect, street customer service things, to, whether it's, obviously residents or businesses, and on the flip side, your only request is with building, with the vehicle, upgrades on it, last thing I'll say is, just like with the building department code, Keith, under his leadership, the inspectors, we will work with any property owner that works with us. We understand hardships and this, that, sometimes, people don't want to follow through, we have to take them to court, but Kathy, is this the position that we're holding until we see?
This
where
was,
we're-
they did cut one position, but the one position they cut is the one we increased in, treasurers collectors. Remember they said.
Oh,
tax
okay,
title
that we talked about, yeah,
Tax title
we
program.
switched it all the way to
They
deal with
switched.
the leads, okay,
The one, vacant is still in the 16,
okay.
but I won't let them fill it yet, and I don't know. if
I'm not saying what, but we gotta.
So I
see
had,
where we're at.
we have to see, all your other, OTPS is by union contract, everything you do, your safety supplies, uniform, clothing allowance, your gas, we can't cut that for the cars, et cetera, so I do have to look at that, so that's something you will look
Yeah.
at, Mayor, and decide.
So to answer to your question, Mayor, how will it affect our department there? Of course, it's the response time.
Okay. Okay,
But hopefully we can get the tax inspector there and I could group them up in different areas.
okay. Thank you, Director O'Connor. Kathy, any questions?
No.
Anything? Billy?
No.
Counselor Govan, Counselor Allen?
No, thank you so much for the work that you're doing in our city. I don't have any questions. I'm glad that you guys have I know it's Kathy's fault that you're not getting her first, but it's down a little bit. But I hope you get what you need to make
Well,
sure you do the work.
Again, I know I call it Dr. No, but we gotta see, maybe it can be Dr. Maybe, we just gotta see it. We just have to see what
It could
occurs.
be fully, maybe
And,
a 6 months.
listen, I know what you do.
Yeah, I
I did it.
We'll see.
She's almost 30 years, so I know exactly the stuff you walk into.
And that's what I love about the whole situation is that you did it.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I go for.
And you know what, you walk in and sometimes as you know, it'll break your heart. And then when you're able to help a situation and then you walk in and you shake your head and you go, how could somebody live this way? And kids out, so, it's important, so appreciate that. Okay, Tim, any questions?
Yeah, I got one
You
question.
can have any questions.
What comprises a successful sweep?
Well,
I mean, approximately how many houses and what? I have not done one, unlike him, I've not done one, so
well, successful.
I'd be happy to join you sometime.
Successful, probably zero.
Well, one of
There
the
you
things,
go.
with our inspectors, when we go on this,
That's
we can identify
It's a
different areas
hysteria.
for the different departments there.
Right.
So it may not be
It's not the house.
necessarily
Yeah.
a housing code issue there or a police issue, or maybe a building department issue or from the electrical division there. We go out and we meet people and it may become a mental health issue there. So in going into the different neighborhoods there and we go house by house there, identifying, we get to talk to people, figure out what some of the issues are. We direct them to any available
That's just the.
assistance, Office of Housing, that's one of the biggest places where we direct them to. So I mean, a lot of times we go out of the suites and we feel pretty good that, the area has been looked at.
To me, at times, they'll get a lot of their, besides that they're out there, they'll get a lot of their information from neighborhood councils.
Yes.
So a lot of times on the exterior suite, they're exterior suites. So you go by, because again, on a single family home, you'd have to garner permission, on it, but so. Trash issues, unregistered vehicles, a house that's really in. Really dilapidated conditions in it, on that, so that's what it would be, so it mainly targets the quality of life issues. When they get specific calls, that's different, because a lot of times they're gonna have to go to multi-family structures.
Yeah.
The last thing I'll say is that emergency calls such as, no heat, or things like that, they go directly to court forthwith. And then someone is provided right to whoever the ownership of that property is, that has to be corrected forthwith on no heat calls and, other things, but, and they're good about, resident might, well, I didn't realize that, I'm sorry, that's gonna be cleaned up, or I didn't, it wasn't registered, I'm gonna get that registered, I'm gonna get it moved out. So that's when it comes on the, exterior sweeps.
Thank you. Thanks for doing that. That's great.
Thank you, Director O'Connor. Thank you, Deputy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Come on,
Take care.
Okay.
Now the.
Okay, now the show really starts. Now the show really starts. Deep. DP. DPW.
Bye, nice to see you.
Thanks, Amanda. DPW, Director Chris Sigoli and his, team are here. And we got Greg.
band of brothers.
Greg Supernova, bless you, Greg Supernova is here, I think Stevie Beam is here,
Stevie's back there.
Stevie's in the.
Bob
bless you.
Olson's here, but we're not sure whether we count him as ITers.
Well, he's a rover. He's a rover, and I wanted to, first open up with some quick comments. First of all, Chris, I want to thank you, and your team, for your efforts. I know sometimes we can't make everybody, happy, and sometimes your team has to work in some very difficult, challenging, weather conditions too, but, I just, on our trash program, when I'm in other surrounding communities, they rave about what we have here accomplished, the single stream, the large barrels. They tell me we kill for something like that, and we pay an arm and a leg for something like that, and what they have. Your road work, which is starting, I think the pedestrian, and Chris, I know you'll elaborate on this, the pedestrian traffic crossings that we are doing, I think there's well over 30 across with the Hawker lights, whole 9 yards across the city. Road work, the pothole patrols are out there. I already know on that. I call in, and next day they're done. The street sweepers I've seen have been out there. Court Square on that, and with the snowplow, we've had storms, some challenging storms, the Clipper and those ice storms on it. But prior to that, I know we have a shortage of vendors, and maybe that comes, you could explain that the city only has owned a number of trucks. That was eliminated many years ago during the control board days, plus water and sewer leaving the city on it. So, but a lot of good things that are going on. We do free yard waste pickup right at your curb. Bulk pickup is extremely inexpensive. We have the days that we hold at Tapley Street for hazardous chemicals, electrical, type of things there. And we work with city councilor Melvin Edwards for free. So there's a lot of things that the DPW does, and I think that sometimes people take that for granted. So I don't know, Kathy, if you have any opening questions, or Billy or Timmy.
I just want to say thank you, Chris, for your service to our city and your department. I have to leave, so I'm not gonna, you're lucky.
Tim will take care of it.
But I truly appreciate, your service, and anytime I reach out to you, you usually respond, so I appreciate that. but I will take
Thank
my
you.
leave, but I'm gonna watch you on TV.
Thank you again, Zeno.
Thank you.
That's, I think, pretty much made all our,
Just about, I
Hearings.
missed one.
thank you.
I'll watch it. Thank you.
Thank you. So Director Signoli, and your team, the floor is yours.
Sure, thank you, Mayor. The DPW, we have 138 positions inside of DPW, 82 in the general fund and 56 in the enterprise fund. We have about 7 or 8 intern positions that has been extremely successful. We're gonna keep doing that. It's actually expanding. We now have people in the garage. We have people actually doing construction, and we have people from an electrician standpoint as well, helping us out. In the general fund, our request is to go from approximately 12.4 to about 12.8 million, and on the enterprise fund is 13.7 to 14.4. So between the two of them, our request for this year is 27,306,000. It's about a 4.25% increase, and most of the increases that I'm going to talk about are contractual in one way, shape, or form. We did increase into the budget this year what we anticipate for revenue. We are getting in a lot more revenue with regard to permits for our construction activities that are going on in the city. And later this year, in front of the council, we're working on the food truck ordinance, or I shouldn't say ordinance because it's not an ordinance, but it's inside of the DPW occupancy and excavation manual, which we're going to be modifying as well. That document has not been updated since 2017, especially for fees. So we know we're going to be increasing those a little bit. And on the enterprise fund side, our increase in revenue is basically directly associated with money that we get for recycling. The rates have been very, very good on recycling that we've been getting back. We anticipate about 390,000. But our disposal costs are 1.1, so we still have a net loss, but the revenue has been getting better over the last few years, and I would anticipate it to keep going that way.
Yeah, because there was times, Chris, where there was no market for recycling.
There was no market. We weren't paying anything, but there was also no market. Now there's a huge market, especially for cardboard, certain plastics. Glass is nothing, certain types of paper are nothing, but we're gonna be, from a contractual standpoint, we're gonna be renegotiating some of those contracts in the coming up, which I'll talk about in a second. Every year I do like to hit on kind of some long-term issues, and these are things that are 5-10 years down the road, but we always have to be thinking about them, and one of them we've discussed before is residency. A number of weeks ago, it might have been 2 or 3 weeks ago, there was a discussion, city council meeting, subcommittee, where we were talking about, I can't remember what it was called, workforce. I can't remember what the title of it, but really what the discussion was about was kind of lowering some standards to get more bodies in from the city of Springfield. We've been doing that for years, and there is a massive downside to this, that what we've been dealing with. For the past few years, I've never had to deal with more discipline issues, more drug suspensions. Be nice if I had my glasses on. Drug suspensions, motor vehicle accidents have gone through the roof in the city.
I've never seen them.
Accidents.
And paying hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to repair vehicles. Because employees are hitting things. The other item we deal with are no-shows. People who just don't show up to work. They just don't show up. And because of the union issues, they could probably not show up for a long period of time before we can do anything with them. The other thing, we've lost 6 people this year to water and sewer. We have one who notified us the other day is moving to water and sewer. They're doing the exact same job, but they can live anywhere they want. And I anticipate that continuing. Solid waste collection, as the mayor was just mentioning, we are only one of 11 or 12 in the state that pick up our own trash.
Yeah.
And from a long-term perspective, we have 35 or so trash trucks. Those vehicles now are $420,000 per vehicle, 2 years to make. And one of the big arguments that I had with some of our state reps was they all decided it would be a good idea to vote in that it's mandatory that everything at the municipal level of a certain size now has to be electric. So that trash vehicle is now $1 million. We haven't gone through it yet, but on the city side, to set up that charging process, it's probably gonna be close to $2 million to set that up. And you're talking about 3-year lead time on these vehicles, and also difficulty getting drivers, but it's the regulation side that we're dealing with. Traffic signals, we only
Chris,
have,
can I go back
Sure.
there with electric? Did they have the mandate have by a certain year? 'Cause
it was supposed to be by this January,
Okay, well,
but they pushed it back
They-
1 year.
And they can, again, it's just a balancing act here, so you go from 420 to $1 million.
Yeah.
And plus we gotta have the charging station.
Yes,
And then isn't there challenge, again, I'm all for, balancing act where you can, good for, the environment, but
Mhm.
isn't there issues? I mean, many a times our people are out there in very difficult, cold weather, frigid weather,
absolutely.
and sometimes the hydraulics or anything will not work under the electrical.
All of our vehicles, we have block heaters,
Right,
and they all have to be plugged in when we get into the middle of winter. This year, when we went, when I say below freezing, really below zero.
Yeah.
We have to bring everything into the garage, and, so that when in the morning, we're able to start them. The vehicles that are outside take 2-3 hours before they warm up to be able to start them, and it delays everything, on that, but the industry is really changing. Our landfill is good for about another 4, 5, 6 years, a little bit more. When the landfill closes, it will be a massive challenge for the city. We have the backstop that we have with Covanta, who is paying us $750,000. The rates will go through the roof. We are paying $110 or so for tipping fee. We're talking probably 25-30% at a minimum that those rates will go up for disposal. And the problem that I see long-term on that is the companies that you're dealing with on the disposal side are the Republic's USA Waste Management, who are also the people that want to come into a city and do your trash service. So they will say to us, we will charge you $200 to accept our trash unless you give me the contract to pick up the trash in your city. But, it's a delicate balance, but that's something to me, I'm seeing 5, 6, 10 years down the road. Hopefully I don't have to deal with.
But that would,
next.
see, we've
But I
been,
mean, those are long-term
that would
issues.
increase costs to our taxpayers.
Absolutely.
We've been very reasonable. Again, when I'm around other communities, they'd say, we pay you triple.
Yeah.
Of what you're getting now if we had that type of service on it.
Right.
So, we've kept it, we subsidize, we have the enterprise fund and then we also have the senior discount too. But if that was to go that route, and we've heard of other surrounding communities where they have private, again, not saying private pickup. And there was one community that went 3 weeks without their trash getting picked up.
East Long Meadow,
Okay,
in 3 weeks.
and pay, so, we have, when I say that, we really do have, we're not perfect, none of us, including me, but we really do have an award-winning, refuge pickup system that we have here, all automated, large barrels. So,
But I don't flaunt the blue ribbons like they do in finance, Mayor.
don't be pissing off Dr. No now.
Chris,
Too late.
Isn't there also thing with the vendors for these electric trucks? That
Well,
if
that-
there's a state law that says if they don't meet so many sales, they won't.
Exactly, they will not be allowed to sell vehicles, unless they sell a certain amount of them. And right now, companies are not, they don't want to make, I'm gonna say the regular diesel trucks, because they don't know if they're gonna be able to sell them. And the law in Massachusetts doesn't talk about taking, or ordering it, it talks about having it to be registered. So it's like, I may not if I order a vehicle today, I'm not registering it for 2 years. And it could come in 2 years and the state goes, sorry, we're not gonna let you register it. I'm like, well, then what do we do with a brand new truck? And they're gonna make me get electric, and electric, there's only a handful of vendors that you're gonna be dealing with. There was a big article, Nutmeg, that's now Allegiance in West Springfield, did about that, you know, they're sitting on all these vehicles that they can't sell, but nobody's giving them orders for electric vehicles. But they said, if we got X amount of electric vehicles, we will let you register or sell others. But they're like, nobody's buying electric. So that's going to be an issue moving forward. As we talked about vehicles, Kathy's sick of hearing from me about vehicles. And one of the things that will happen in the next few months, obviously, we'll be going in front of the council in one way, shape, or form for vehicles, but I'm gonna be working with police and fire and putting together a comprehensive citywide plan for vehicles. Because when I came, for example, I come to Kathy last year and say, I need 5.8 million. 2 weeks later, police shows up and says, I need 2 million, and then fire shows up a week later. So this way, at least we're gonna be putting together a comprehensive plan. The renegotiation of waste contracts, end of this coming fiscal year, end of 26, bulk trash and recycling will expire. We're gonna start renegotiation with them probably, you know, end of this calendar year. We're gonna be doing a new condo contract this year. We just did a new mattress contract and a new e-waste contract. So we're in pretty good shape with regard to those contracts, but all of those have standard built-in increases of 4, 5, 6%. From a general fund standpoint, we have to, our engineering department's their contract's running out. That's not huge money for us to eat. It's like 20 grand. So I'm not too worried about that, but their contract needs to be done. Software, the OpenGov, and that was being talked about with code. We've been using Cartograph piece of it for years, and we've just added that to the engineering department last year for our permits. Within our administrative side, we take care of all the GPS for all the vehicles in the city. Virtually every vehicle in the city now has GPS. So we are able to find out what's going on. It has helped us immensely, especially when we're dealing with discipline. We also get a lot of phone calls from people that say, hey, your vehicle was driving down Route 291 and it was going 75 miles an hour and cut me off. I can go on and see if that happened. And in a lot of cases, it might have. In some cases, it doesn't. Fleet management, inside of fleet, I'm talking about the vehicles. We, for a number of years, were doing a 5-year, I don't want to use the word lease, but it was a 5-year. We don't have anything in those line items. And we also obviously have to take care of our flood system as well. Within the department, we do have a number of openings. However, our openings are extremely tiered. Meaning that within our departments, we have 5 or 6 positions, and we are backfilling them not through general advertisement, but through contractual requirements with either UFCW or Ask Me, and it's all internal postings. So what if you ask me today, Tim, I know which you've done before, you asked me on a job or a position opening today, I can tell you what it is. On Tuesday, it's gonna be a different position, because we've either filled it or we've advertised it. Now it's another one. This person gets promoted to this, then this person gets promoted to that one. And really, in the end, the opening positions become a labor position down at the bottom. And using as an example, if we don't have a foreman on a sidewalk crew, you got 6 guys out there and nobody's telling them what to do. Not that they don't know what to do, but it's that sort of progression that happens. We've included all the step increases that we have for certain people. With our new contracts that we've done for UFCW, we've added everything with CDL licenses, hoisting licenses, all the contractual stuff that we have for all the licensing and that we have in our department. Talked about the revenue grants. We've been doing excellent on grants, and for paving programs and major roadway projects, et cetera. Those are not budget items that we deal with. All of those are just extra pots of money that come into the department. From a level service standpoint, really the major concern that we have is basically unreimbursed overtime. There's a ton of events that go on in the city, both on the enterprise fund and on the DPW side that we participate in. That, you know, 4th of July is a great example. The city gets some revenue. We probably spend $20,000 in the first week of budget season. And then the people in the finance department start yelling at me because we've already started to spend money on that. But we have, you know, 4th of July pancake breakfast, parades, festivals, Rays of Hope, neighborhood cleanups, etc. Throughout the city. And the only one that we get a check for is Bright Nights, and that's capped on that. So on the budget cutting scenario side, basically what we looked at were programs. Things like elimination of the sidewalk crew, elimination of overtime for non-emergency type of thing. For example, we get a phone call at 10 o'clock at night that a light is blinking at an intersection, we go out and take care of it. If you don't want to take care of that emergency and let that light blink, there's probably 50% of the intersections in the city, which is no big deal. Then there's 50% where it's a big deal. Lights are out at the X, lights are out at Boston Road and Parker. Those need to be fixed right away. But you can reduce down there. Eliminating divisions. A lot of municipalities have been eliminating divisions such as engineering or traffic or fleet and subbing those out, which you can do. You save money, but you lose service. And you know, for example, a lot of communities around here don't do fleet anymore. Don't do any maintenance on fleet. It goes out during a snowstorm. If a vehicle comes in and it's got a plow blade that's cracked and it needs to be replaced, that vehicle's not going to work. And now we fix it, and maybe a half hour later, it's back on the road. So in looking at items like that, you know, eliminating things like street repairs, you know, fill potholes, catch basins, and traffic signal. A lot of municipalities now are farming that out. So each one of those we've identified if there's layoffs associated with them. We've identified what the impact would be to the city, and to the residents as well, and as well as the impact to down to the resident level, as well as impact to our department with layoffs as well. On the enterprise fund side,
Chris, can I just,
Sure.
Yeah, you know, we work closely with the city council. Sidewalk crew is really very popular, and I call you all the time when we on the light. You gotta have a merge for, and we saw what happened when some things were subbed out during the control board days, specifically the street sweeping, which a company wasn't getting done.
Yeah.
Everything being equal, I like people, city workers take pride in their work on it, so cognizant of that. And I just wanted to, before you, on the enterprise, and you mentioned some of the highlights that have been done, the solid waste orders updated, we negotiated contracts, ASME, UPS, UFCW, Port Square construction projects are almost done. Street sweeping has already started, 1.5 cycles. The roadway safety improvements, LED lights, 70% now converted. You worked with Eversource.
Updated, it's actually 80. I got it.
It's 80, so it's 80% now. I know we got the meeting with the X. Traffic reconstruct, a major project that needs to be done, and we appreciate everybody's patience. Fiber City, I know that they're putting fiber throughout the city. The sidewalk program, almost $1 million, which again, we worked closely with the city council on that. You really bird dog for me, with Tim Sheehan and the Civic Center garage that should be opening up this month formally. The city complete streets, prior to we've done that, a 5-year plan for replacement vehicles. You're gonna head that up again. And then we've done, I put out millions of dollars for neighborhood requests on design and construction projects in all our neighborhoods. And then you work as a liaison with MassDOT on that. So I just want to make sure people are, the viewing audience, they are aware of that also.
Other than that, there we don't do anything.
Okay. And the enterprise fund, now that goes with our trash.
And on the enterprise fund side, We have our bulk mattress, e-waste, white goods. All those contracts that we have are all contractual and we have, increases in there. So we have that. Waste disposal, we have a 5% increase in trash. So our tipping fee, let me see, will be $144.15. Recycling will be $144.15. Our,
What's the tipping fee now?
it is for this current fiscal year. It was 132, then it was a 4.5% increase.
Jeez,
I don't have that number. The one we're using this year is
Yeah,
144.50.
I remember the days when we were looking at it was 70 something
Well,
dollars.
that for recycling, it was zero.
Yeah, yeah.
So what we're doing now for trash, for fiscal 26 is 115.21.
Yeah,
And with 47,000, basically 48,000, it's $5.5 million. to get
trash,
rid of trash.
trash is big business.
Huge
Big
business, huge business. The other item that I discussed with.
Jimmy, do you have a question?
I'm sorry.
Excuse me, that 115.21, just explain what that
That's
is.
a tipping.
That's the tipping fee. That's what we pay
Every time we
when
bring,
we dump the material. Right now, the old burn plant is gone.
yeah,
It is a transfer station run by F&G, who is part of USA Hauling. We go there, when we dump the material, we get charged by the ton of the material that we dump there. So it's $115.21 a ton, and we do about 48,000 tons a year.
yeah.
In the city. Actually, our budget number is 47.7. And that number was much lower pre-COVID. It popped back up, as well as the recycling. And I think that's a direct response of mail order. Of everything that's going on in the city with regard to the amount of tonnage that we're doing for recycling and trash. There's just, rather than going to the store, you're getting everything delivered in boxes and crates and whatever, and that's a direct increase. We have also, in the past year, I've stopped trash service for a number of locations who we felt were kind of wanting the system a little bit. The last item from the budget.
And then I remember that mattresses,
Yes.
mattresses, because you had places, could be a two-family, Chris would tell me, you have 20 mattresses piled up there.
Yeah.
So obviously they're moving them from other properties outside the city. And again, when I speak to those outside communities, you know, our bulk is very, very reasonable. $8 a mattress, 16 to the state. They tell me they might have a dump area, which you have to have a permit every year. And then when they go in there, certain things, $50 for this, $40 for this. So, you know, we're, you know, more than reasonable, and we continue to do the illegal dumping, the hidden camera things on it. But so when people say, and again, DPW, you schedule an appointment, they will come to your house and pick up that bulk item. On it, so.
And in picking up that bulk now, it's extremely challenging, because our regular bulk goes one place, our e-waste goes another place.
Mattress, yeah.
And our mattresses go to a third. So if you have 3 items on your front lawn, it may end up getting picked up at 2 or 3 different times during the day. And because they're all going to 3 different places. So the last item from a budget standpoint is workers' comp. That we try to work as best we can every year with finance to make sure that we're covered. There are a lot of employees on that list that are long-term, so we need to make sure that they're getting paid. And then we also have people that just throughout the year end up on comp for a lot of different things. There seemed to have been, we had a big lull where we were probably averaging, you know, 3 or 4 people a week that might have comp that might be on for a week or 2 or 3. Now we are back up to where we're dealing with 6 or 7 every week. And when somebody's on long-term comp, and it usually takes us 2 years to get him off the books. When they can't work anymore. And so in that time, we can't backfill a position. And we're gonna be going through some terminations on that. And basically, we do have to terminate the employee. They'll be getting their money through workman's comp moving forward, but we then have to go through a formal termination, but I can't do that until all the doctor's stuff is taken care of, and then that person ends up getting paid basically for the rest of their lives under comp. On that, that is part of the budget for the enterprise fund. Revenue, as we talked about, we have a big revenue item in there. I think it's a little bit over 5 million, because obviously the trash fee is in there. And just for everybody, trash fees, the bills went out. Get paid.
And again, like I said, and they stayed the same.
Yep.
And we have the, I think for seniors, it's $50, and again, I'm not gonna go into surrounding communities that indicate they'd kill to have the system that we,
The size barrel.
the size
The
barrel.
size barrel
Size barrel
is number one.
You gotta know the size barrels of, our
East
sister
Long
brother
Meadow.
communities.
Yeah, it's this big.
Is
It's
a tall trash, kitchen trash barrel.
It is.
Yep.
And so people then, they have to go out and buy bags. And people tell me a week at times, they might have to end up spending $20 to $30 a week just on the bags. So you fast forward that, that's a $150 to $250 a year on top of what the, so again, we do have a really good system.
But my wife stopped me last night because she was looking at something on social media that a person posted, hey, I got my trash bill. Somebody said, how much was it? $90. And she says, you need to move to Palmer. Ours is only $40. And the person then writes back and goes, no, it's $90 for the year. She goes, oh, I pay $40 a month just to have my trash picked up. Everything else has to go to the transfer station.
That's $4.80.
So it's like, you know, we have a very big bargain. The budget cut scenarios within, the enterprise fund, we could lay off drivers. That's always, and I hate to say it's always an option, but it is, basically what we pay drivers on a day-to-day basis is, they do their work. When they are done, they get to leave. If we lay off, drivers, it just means that we're dealing with longer days. I literally have citizens who call me at 9 o'clock in the morning and say, my trash has not been picked up. You're usually here at 8. What's the problem? I'm like, well, they haven't gotten to you yet. So we have different scenarios. The other thing are basically programs with either increased cost or reduction of the program. Things like eliminating yard waste programs. Obviously, you know, you're eliminating yard waste program from having us pick it up in the street and having somebody try to bring it to Bondi's Island. It's $1 million, but it's a massive inconvenience. Or you charge people for yard waste pickup, and, you know, I say things like 10 cents a bag, it's $45,000, and because we collect a lot of yard waste. Bulk pickup, going to private haulers for that. Private haul, and as I mentioned before, just about solid waste and picking up trash. Private haulers would come in for 2, 3, 4 years, give you great rates. And then it would go massively.
Yeah, those are the teaser rates.
Yeah.
Teaser rates.
Through the roof. Bulk stickers, obviously discussions over time, we've talked about increasing bulk stickers, getting you more revenue. Eliminating things like household hazardous waste program, which we just posted. Or charging residents to be able to drop the material off. But a lot of these programs, we also get grants. So if we eliminate these programs, I mean, the grant that we get is anywhere between $55,000 and $75,000, but we would then lose a lot of those grants.
Chris, look, Ray, that's on the state level DEP.
Yeah,
not-
DEP.
not- You really, it's not the you really don't have a lot of direct federal grants unless
We
it's a
have,
major.
within
construction.
DPW, virtually zero.
Okay,
Yeah.
unless it's
Yeah,
already.
it's extra programs, it's
Okay.
stuff that we do
So the
either
grants.
through DOT.
Yeah,
That comes in through the Fed, but on the transportation side, everybody's relatively confident, that the transportation side isn't really gonna be hit. From a President Trump standpoint, he was bullish on it
Yeah,
before.
it's a bipartisan.
Yeah, that was in the programs that's in there now under the new infrastructure bill. You know, we've been able to benefit off of through a lot of the grant programs, so. But from a direct budget standpoint, virtually no impact whatsoever.
Okay.
Let's see, and obviously, one of the mayor's favorites is that we can always increase the trash fee.
No, that's not going to occur. That's already been said. That's that's.
And inside of, from I'm gonna say from an additional request standpoint, from the, enterprise fund side, it is vehicle related, making sure that we're, you know, keeping up with our vehicles. When we have a truck down, now, it's taking us longer to get parts, it's taking us longer to get them fixed. And we end up with vehicles down. And just kind of go backwards in talking about vehicles from a snowplow perspective. In the city of Springfield, we have 20 plows.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks we got 100 of them. We have 4 street sweepers. We have less equipment on things like that than Long Meadow, Chicopee, all these other communities put together. Our concerns with the level fund or just level service moving forward is again, you know, things like unreimbursed, extra services that we do. One of the ones that we did last year, and we've done 2 years in a row now, is the free electronics event.
I was there.
It's
It's
free for the resident, but we still pay for it.
It was
So,
massive. The line was
Massive.
down to Bay Street. We filled up how many dumpsters, Chris?
7.
Seven dumpsters. And I had Roca helping us
Yeah.
out. The guys helped us out on that.
Which I was a little disappointed with, but, because they knew they just took off.
Well,
rather than
we
waiting
can
for people to
alleviate
stay
that.
there,
They
but-
probably thought they were told that
Yeah,
either don't.
we
till
were,
noontime.
we spent about $25,000 on that event.
And I
what-
commend, City Councilor Melvin Edwards on that. He really spearheads that as part of his Keep, Springfield Beautiful.
And what we saw after that is a reduction in electronics picking up. But in the end, it kind of is a wash between, hey, a little less electronics, but we paid for them as part of that other event. Our wish list, excuse me, that I was talking about before, we talked about vehicles, trash barrels, we are always replacing them. We do need to do some work at our landfills. Bondi is not our only landfill. We have Armory, we have Cottage Street that are closed that we always have to deal with. And one of the items that is popping up is a jetback truck for the landfill. It's an expensive piece of equipment. It's one of those that when we need it, we need it. And so that has been on our list for.
Hey, Chris, the guy
Forever.
coming up behind you has a gun, so we gotta move this, we gotta move this.
You bring your gun?
I'm just.
He looks to be alone. I think we
I'm
can
just-
take him there. if
I'll pass on that, Chris. No, I'm
But,
just kidding. I know you're, because I know there's gonna be some questions.
But other than that, we was mentioned before about the gas pumps. The gas pumps the pumps themselves, the tanks are in good condition. The electronic equipment that services them is severely antiquated. And if it goes down, we're not gonna be able to fix it. And all of that information that we get, every time somebody fills up with gas, it goes into our system. It tags for preventive maintenance.
Yeah.
So it tells us that, hey, you've put 8,000 miles on this vehicle, you gotta come in for an oil change, brakes, all that stuff. So, there's a design in process. And when we were talking at the capital plan last week, it's not a DPW project. Pete Garvey's doing
It's
it,
gonna do, it, yeah.
but it's been listed under facilities. And as far as I'm concerned, from a capital perspective, it should be the most important project we do. Gas pumps go down. We use 50,000 gallons of fuel a month.
Yeah.
So at 2 a.m, when the fire department comes through and the system's not working, which we've had from time to time, we need to make sure that gets taken.
We're gonna get that.
Yeah.
God's gonna handle that. Kathy, we've already,
It's gonna design, will be in front of council.
Yeah,
Right.
New gas pump.
So,
Yeah. And the canopy there was mentioned before, is 100% shot, and I'm nervous that one day it's just gonna kind of fall over, but.
well, Chris, I know you put across, we know on the vehicle stuff that you need there, some of the, if you had to make cuts and some, you mentioned they're off the table.
Yeah.
For me, I would not do that. Again, we have to do, again, I requested, you're very detailed. I appreciate that, because I want, the narrative's important to me.
Kathy used the word long-winded.
So,
Am I wrong?
you like that?
Well,
John,
you
huh?
did.
You're gonna, you know what? I'll bet you that's gonna be in an article, I'll tell you right now.
So
So,
if you want another quote later, I'm
oh,
happy to give you more.
jeez. So, all right, we have to do this, because again, we don't know the unsettled situation coming from the, federal level, but we got to just, so Kathy, I don't know if you have any questions?
I don't, I
We
work
talk-
very closely.
Billy?
No.
Counselor Allen and Counselor Davila has joined us, been very good about being at these meetings too, so, Tim, you have any questions?
When you were talking about this, this is early in your presentation, but
What was that, 3 days ago, right, Tim?
about the hiring,
Yes,
was that when Counselor Delgado was presenting the skill-based hiring?
correct.
I was at that meeting,
Yes.
so you have big concerns about that.
I have huge
And you have
concerns
data.
about it, because we're dealing with it now. You know, the bar for us is about as low as it can go. And there are people that we have had to hire
You gotta
that 5 years ago, I would have never thought about bringing in the front door of the city. But we have no choice, and simply because it's either a residency issue, we have positions that are just not responded to. And from a residency standpoint, I use one in engineering as an example. A woman from West New England applied for the position, we offered it to her, and she says, "You mean I gotta live in the city my whole life? I'm gonna be getting married in a year. My husband lives in Westfield. I'm not taking the job." And it's like, okay. And it's like, well, the only thing we can offer that person is, well, we'll give you 2 years to move in. And they go, I'm not moving in. I don't want to be tied down for 40 years of a career to live in the city. And as was talked about before with, you know, cost of housing,
Yeah.
interest rates, all that sort of stuff, when you're trying to attract the younger generation who, you know, are bread and butter trying to come grow within, you know, somebody's just, I mentioned the other day, Crystal Brook, West Crystal Brook.
Yeah.
House just sold for $610,000.
Yeah.
It wasn't, and he built one,
It was sold, I don't know which one it was,
Which
but
one it was.
$610,000.
Yeah.
I know there's a couple of big ones out.
Down.
Those are
I haven't
huge.
driven down.
That's a lot of money. These new houses that are going out there now are just, you know, the costs are through the roof, and I know it makes our tax side happy, but hey, you see, you find the smile.
and you're saying it's the deterrent.
It's a massive deterrent, especially when you're buying that now, and instead of, you know, 2.5% or 3%, you're doing it at 6, 7, or 8, depending upon, and if you're 25 or 30 years old and you don't have much of a credit rating behind you, you know, you could be paying 7 or 8%.
So Jose's point, that was all new to me as well. I was in the meeting with you. His point was that the state does skills-based hiring.
Because
And
they
if
have
somebody
to.
applies for this job
Yes,
and they don't fit, they can give them this job, or
Yeah.
those skills might be applicable to another
Yeah.
job. So they don't have to keep reapplying to all
Yeah.
these different jobs that, on the hiring side, that we're smart enough to, whatever, to see that this person over here might be over here.
and I'll tell you, Tim,
And-
not to interrupt you on it, I'm gonna say probably, with the exception of operations, everybody that we've hired has come from a city division. All we're doing is hire people from other departments. Code, building,
Steal from each
There's
other.
another issue
Yeah.
with, we should talk about it with Bill again or something, because I'm not sure, Jose is chair, or excuse me, Victor is chair of that committee, and I don't know if we, remember that, Victor, the general government meeting where Jose was talking about skills based,
Skill-based, correct.
and
Yeah.
I don't know where with that, if there was another meeting being scheduled, or if there was, you know, an ordinance or something coming out of it,
Yeah.
but
my understanding, Councilor Allen, is that he's going to work it out with Bill Mahoney and the solicitor, and that he's going to be bringing something forward to the table. Maybe I don't want to give a timetable for him. I want
Yeah,
to say
but
2 months or so, but yeah, but I do
we
believe
gotta
that's
make
his
sure,
intent. Yeah, Chris, you were there in that meeting, right? I
Yes,
think he
yeah,
was. Yeah,
I
and
came
so,
up earlier before you joined here.
yeah.
We,
Perfect, yeah.
we brought, Councilor DeVille, we brought it up before, and I always, it's my result, everything being equal, Springfield, gets preference, whether it's in contracts, bidding procedures, all procurement, or in hiring. But we have had certain situations with the council, we want the best person, and sometimes we've gone out, even in Chris's division, for specialized mechanics, which are needed. We've gone out 2, 3, 4 times, and Governor Healy had put up still, I'm open to that within reason. A lot of our surrounding other communities, I want people to want to live in Springfield. A lot of our surrounding communities don't have those situation that you have to live on, but.
And as a mechanic standpoint, Mayor, we're gonna have an opening. What we've done is we've partnered obviously with Putnam, and we've.
You've hired, it's great, you hired them.
Which is great, absolutely wonderful. These kids have been great. One of the kids, simply because we couldn't hire anybody else, 21 years old, Steve, he's a foreman at 21. Now, in my opinion, that employee, he's doing a great job, but it's like you're having to promote people simply because they live in the city. And we can't bring anybody else in, because that person meets the requirement of it. So it makes the hiring, we're gonna have a position open. The last one that we had inside of, as a mechanic, took us over 2 years to fill. And all we're going to do is, if we pay $1 more than the police department, I'm gonna get somebody from the police department. If I pay $1 more than somebody in the fire department, I'm gonna get from the fire department, and vice versa.
Chris, he's got a gun.
But
Just
because we're all in different unions and stuff like that, so somebody's gonna look at that and say, hey, I already work for the police, that means I'm good. I'm gonna come work for DPW, or vice versa, because we've lost people all over the place.
Do you have any other questions at all? No. Okay. Let me turn, I know Councilor DeVille's been patient, he has some questions, so we can wrap up with DPW, then we'll finish up with, Police Superintendent Larry Akers and the police, budget. So, Councilor DeVille, and thank you again, you've been pretty faithful in attending these meetings too, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and again, thank you for inviting us to these hearings. They've been very informative. Like you said before, this is where balls and nuts gets done, and it's very refreshing to me. Chris, I do have a plethora of questions, but I know we have a time constraint, so I'm going to keep it kind of light. Let me start backwards. Let me start talking about the potential tax budget cuts that have not materialized as of yet. Just a comment that you mentioned the health and hazardous waste program is a fantastic program. You can drop off paint, anything hazardous. If we were to eliminate that program, that stuff's going to end up in the river for sure. It's going to create a whole bunch of other problems. So starting backwards, if we were to make a cut, I will urge you, Mr. Mayor, for that to be the very last thing that we cut, because I think we're going to be shooting ourselves in the foot in the long run on that one, in terms of the environment. Also sidewalks and roads. Before I make my comment, please let me acknowledge and thank you, Mr. Mayor. And Chris, you have helped me in the past with a constituent who was blind and handicapped and had in a wheelchair, had a serious issue with the sidewalk. And Mr. Mayor, Chris, the issue was resolved within 24 hours. And you guys have really improved his quality of life. We even put a post for him, like a sign, because he lives on Dorset Street, and you could take your own life on that street. So I just wanted to say, as a resident, as a councilor, and on their behalf, thank you for the prompt response of that. Now,
thank you for bringing it to our attention.
You're welcome, Mr. Mayor. Chris, what's the budget right now for the sidewalk and the roads? If might be too much minutia, but I'm just kind of curious.
I know we did About 900, almost a million, let's say 900,000 and change in new sidewalks, Chris, or maybe you have a more specific number, Chris.
Our street maintenance division, total is about, $2.2 million. With a 1.5 of that being in the salaries, so it's about $700,000 in, I'm gonna use OTPS. But there's also some overtime there. And in the, and that's all, that street maintenance division, all the, sidewalk stuff is within there, great, all that's within there as well as the.
And I
other
think
stuff.
that comes from chapter 90.
Yes. No,
No.
there, all that is city budget.
Yeah.
All that is
Okay.
city budget. The chapter 90, anything associated with state projects or chapter 90, none of that stuff is in this
Okay.
budget,
Okay.
or has any impact on what we get or don't get from the state.
And we sent Chris Signoli, Director Signoli, and I sent a letter. First, I thank Governor Healy, Lieutenant Governor Christopher, sent a letter to, the delegation and the state legislature. Chapter 90 hasn't been increased in 20 something
Right.
years. So we're getting 60 cents on the dollar. The increase they put in there would help us do even more roadways. So, we're hopeful that, I know Governor Baker put it in a few times and never made it, through. So that would get us, Chris, off the top of my head, we get about 3 cents. That gets us up to five
It's
something.
a hair over 5 million,
But
and our proposal
more
is that.
roads can be done.
Right, our proposal is that we're gonna spend about 4 of that, 4.2 on paving. And then as part of that other money, we have to pay for design and
Yeah.
projects associated with the state. We also do, line painting, and we also pay employees, but we pay employees based upon overtime. We can't pay them on their straight time. So when we have projects like, the X or anything, or anything that's related to a state project, I can offset some salary, especially the overtime, on that. And traffic signals are also what I can buy equipment through chapter 90.
And we've had a lot of traffic signals knocked down with speeding, Chief Baker.
And light poles. And light poles.
Yes.
With light poles, and it takes sometimes you'll see that we'll put the signs there, or sometimes we have Larry's, people have to post because it takes forever to get the things, on. So if that increase stays in there, which I hope it does.
Yep.
That'll be helpful.
Yeah. With that being said, Chris, thank you for your help and good job on removing the light pole that was knocked down on Long Hill Street of the highway. It was taken down, and I thought I was going to cry once I saw it down, one of the decorative light poles. And thank you for taking care of it, because it was a safety issue at that point. Chris, just let me 2 more quick issues, and I'm going to talk about more of this in the city council hearings. Or favorite subject that comes up every year, at least since I have political awareness, plowing. Okay, I know there's many layers to that onion. I know you have given us a number of reasons as to how plowing gets affected here in the city of Springfield. I do have to say, fulfilling my duties, that I feel that we could have done significantly better on the last snowstorm. Significantly better. I got a lot of complaints on it. And so we have the summer now, and so, well, hopefully no more snow, knock on wood. So I guess I'm just brainstorming, Chris and Mr. Mayor. I'm trying to think, falsely thinking here. Chris, you have told us in the past that we have a manpower issue, hiring people for a number of reasons, whether they don't pass the drug test, residency, you name it. That's the reason why people don't want to work here. Have we, and I'm just brainstorming, I'm sure there's labor issues involved in this. Why can't we get, for example, the parks, facility, water and sewer guys, once they're done with their stuff, to come and help us? As far as I know, they don't do that unless I'm mistaken. I'm just trying to think outside of the box here, because this is an issue, and I think we keep hitting our head against the wall on that issue. So I do have one more question, but if you have any comment, Chris or Mr. Mayor, on that.
Yeah, I just wanted to, I know Chris can elaborate. Water and sewer, in the old days, that was under us. That was eliminated under some administrations ago, years ago. They're a separate entity, so we can't go to them. Years ago, we had that.
And they have virtually zero.
They have zero plowing now because when they were under DPW, it was different. Again, when the control board it took over, control board got rid of all that. We only have 20 large pieces, then we have to sub out. In the heydays, we used to be able to grab 130, 150 vendors. We're lucky now if we can get
Right.
80 to 100. The parks,
Right.
again, the parks have to concentrate on the parks and the schools, the schools doesn't, police and judge, they have to do.
It's all private, that's all private vendor.
That's all private vendor.
Yeah, they plow virtually I don't wanna say nothing, but they plow minimal stuff. They have their own vendor, for parks and facilities that does, all of the stuff in the city, for facilities, school parking lots, et cetera. So they have virtually no employees that, other than just doing a little cleanup here or there, they don't do any of their own plowing.
I understand. Thank you for that. In my opinion, I believe from where I'm sitting on my chair, we need to do something different. This is not working, in my opinion. And I know Cesar said and done, but I look forward to have continuous discussion. I'm sure this is going to come up. And yes, we live in New England. It's going to happen. I get it. But you compare us to other municipalities. Something is not clicking here, and we need to address that. But moving on to my last point, Chris, the light poles. I do believe in the last meeting you mentioned that we are paying $2.8 million for electricity on the contract with Eversource. Or
That's more than that.
Was he you, I think it was you, Kathy, right? Who said one of you? I can't remember. It was 2.8. Well, that was part of my question. How much is the projected increase with Eversource?
We are, for this current fiscal year, we are paying 3.358 million for streetlights in the city of Springfield. And that's gonna be, and obviously we'll have a negotiation with them over the next month or two that will set the rate for next year.
Right.
And it's been like a 1 or 2%. It's not a huge number. Percentage increase.
Victor, 80% now, 80% are now LED lights too.
Yeah.
Just want to add that. Okay.
Yeah, and absolutely. So, Chris, again, Mr. Mayor, this onion, particularly with Eversource and the light poles, has many layers, like I said, like I like to say. However, again, this is one of those issues that something is not working, and I say that with sadness. My understanding is, as I have gotten more involved in this, because I'm getting a lot of complaints, not to mention the decorative lights, which I mentioned to both of you before. The responsibility of reporting a light out falls within the resident. We need to change that because it's not working. People are not going to call it in. If you go in, they tell you to look at this number, and you go to the light pole and you look for a number this big in the light pole, and it's high up or it's gone. It's just very confusing. It's taking a long time. I know that Eversource, they claim that they have one crew. Now they increased it to 2. That's still not enough, in my opinion. But something is not working. They tried telling us that we only have 68 light poles out in the city, and I pushed back, and they did admit to me.
That's not so. Yeah. I call them in all the time.
And so they admitted to me that the 68 light poles they are aware of, like, so that's different. And so what I'm saying is, again, this is another issue that we have to look carefully, because I'm sure, as you gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, $3.358 million a year makes me feel some kind of way. And I don't think we're getting what we're supposed to get with Eversource in this issue. Chris, question regarding staying on this subject with Eversource. I know the city council, its infinite wisdom, sent some what do you call that? Some conduits permits to subcommittee, because they're kind of disappointed.
Yeah.
And I think that's
Delaying
coming up,
project.
maybe next week, it's gonna be going to, maintenance and development, it's gonna be a joint.
There's this, subcommittee meeting Tuesday.
Right, is the city denying permits to Eversource or Verizon or any utility companies right now?
No.
Are they refusing to accept permits?
No, anything that has been approved by the council or anything that doesn't require council approval, they have the authority to start work.
Right.
I am holding them back on certain projects.
Oh, okay.
Because there is one project that they've been working on since last year that I won't let them start some of the others until they finish the first one. But in general, they have the authority to move forward with all their work.
Right, so you are holding, you are holding back on some projects because that's within your
Yes.
prerogative.
Right.
But there's nothing keeping Eversource or any utility company from continuing to apply for a permit to be heard at the city council later on.
Correct, and it goes to the Board of Public Works first, and then, once they hold that meeting, it gets referred to the council.
Okay, and I
So
finished with the,
we will continue, we're gonna continue to do the Board of Public Works.
Right.
Because as an example, there's, I think there's 12 of them, 11 or 12 right now that are sitting.
got you. And with regards to Eversource meeting with the neighborhood councils, are you aware of them refusing to meet with the neighborhood council because of the city council's action to send this to committee?
No,
Not that I know of.
they
Okay.
shouldn't be, and they should not use that as an excuse either.
I
Yeah.
agree with you, Mr. Mayor. And the
No,
reason that
Victor,
I'm
I'm glad
asking,
you brought it up. I'm not aware, but they should not. I know, Director Segole's project that, hey, they need to button up this project first before they move on. The other
I agree,
things,
I agree.
they've always progressed to the city council. I know there was a delay on that. I understand. I spoke with Council Brown the other night that,
Yep.
you know, apples, we're all on the rate, but you know, some
Right.
projects, Victor, one is near and dear to our heart, the X area that we don't want that delay. Chris is gonna speak.
Yeah, that's one of the projects that's being held up, so.
And the reason I bring it up, Mr. Mayor and Chris, is because I agree, but first of all, I agree with Mr. Mayor, they should not be using that as an excuse to hold up any project. Obviously, this is.
Well, one of them, Victor, just to let everybody know here, Golf Course Veterans doesn't have power
Why?
because they don't have approval from the council.
Yeah.
So they're not gonna be
Okay.
able to open.
Okay, so, right,
I know
so,
there's a meeting, there's a
They
meeting,
did.
subcommittee
Next
meeting that's scheduled. I think you'll get it resolved, but I think the next city council meeting is early April.
April 7th.
And with the weather
Correct.
warming up, I think Director Ash is gonna be able to open up the golf
Right.
courses
And-
early, so.
and so I bring it up because I learned yesterday, I actually, doing my due diligence, I just think everybody knows that I like to do. I even called Eversource and I picked up their phone, I said, is this true? What's happening? They told me that that's not the case, just like you said, Mr. Mayor, and you, Chris.
Yeah.
And I just want to put that on the record, that the utility companies can still continue to apply. They will come to the city council at due time. We will consider it. Because it was portrayed to us like the city council is, well, at least to me, was going to put the city back in its dark ages, and that's just not completely true. We are doing our due diligence. We're holding them accountable because we got a lot of complaints. And the end goal is the same, even for Eversource, to provide good service. So I wanted to put that out there. Chris, I do have more questions, but I will hold those until actual hearings from the city council. But I thank you, Chris. Mr. Mayor, with Chris, I tell him all the time he is in a difficult situation no matter what he does. I don't know how he does it, but I really mean it when I say not only as a councilor, but as a resident. Thank you for your work. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor Villa. Chris, that concludes your budget hearing. And thank you.
Larry was getting really pissy over there. I could tell by looking at him. He was. Cheryl was so nice.
You know, if Chris isn't being sarcastic and busting your chops, then you know something's wrong. So, but thank you, Director Segal. We appreciate it. Deputy Segal.
He's gonna have 5 on the street. Nobody else isn't.
Me.
We now have, last but not least,
Thanks. Thank you.
Good job. Thank you. Thank you. Last but not least,
I'm just having to watch the recording.
we have, police superintendent Larry Akers is here. And he's done a outstanding job leading our department. Before I turn it over for opening, so I'd just like to say a couple of things. I'm sure Superintendent or Chief Akers is going to highlight them, but just to let you know, knock on wood, Murphy's Law, I don't want it, but overall crime is down 21% in the city of Springfield, currently. We were down one total last year, but, murders, and one is too many, and Larry will tell you that. Almost 50% down under his leadership. They're already out there, but I know that the Councilor, LeVar, Click, Bruce, the Chair of Public Safety, myself, and Superintendent Akers make the dirt bike patrols, enforcement are already, out there. Again, I'm hopeful the state legislature can, we have a bill in there, that we want to be able to destroy these dirt bikes, and believe you me, I think Larry would join me too. We'd take a sledgehammer, the first one to send a message, but we're still waiting on the, state legislature on that. It came up earlier, Superintendent Akers, Chief Akers, how popular the Flex Squad, the ordinance squad is, created 17 years ago with the police department. Neighborhoods love that. Crowd and Larry's recruited, Chief Akers recruited very heavily. If everything holds, we'll have 46 coming out of, the police academy, the largest in years, which we need. And the last thing I'm gonna say is that the FIU division, the firearms investigation has done a tremendous job. Record numbers of illegal guns and ghost guns taken off the streets. But as your department just did now, we announced we made arrests again of individuals that were out. Warrants, multiple warrants, on previous gun charges, serious violent crimes. And the courts and some of our judges let go. And, a message has to be sent to these repeat criminal offenders that, we cannot, Blue works hard, puts their lives on the line, arrest these individuals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, and yet they're let go to, terrorize beyond our streets and in our neighborhoods. It's just not right. The last thing I'll say is, when it comes to reentry, we're warranted. I fund programs with Sheriff Nick Coach, but these individuals, ones that they're bad apples, and it just demoralizes with the residents, basically demoralizes the police department, but the police department will not back down. But that recent report, which was on all the media, of those individuals that should not have been on the streets on it. So I just wanted to give that as an opener. I don't know if Kathy or Billy, Councilor Allen, Finance Chair Allen, or Councilor DeVille have any opening comments before I turn it over to Police Superintendent Akers.
We work together a lot, so. Send it to Tim Allen.
Yeah, I'm good for opening comments. I'll have a couple later.
Councilor Davila? Okay, and last thing I'll say is about, I know I said it a couple times, the body worn cameras. And I want to thank Kathy and you that we're really up in the game on that. And we were the first we're the first department in Massachusetts to do it. So Councilor DeVilla, go ahead.
Just more of a comment, I guess more of a kudo, Mr. Mayor and Superintendent Lakers. It's good to see you, by the way. But by the way, Mr. Mayor, I have to say that it appears you have competition, sir. Superintendent Larry, you compete. The guys are competing for the best looking, best dressed.
Let me tell you something.
Officials in the city. Look at him.
He and his lovely wife, Mary. I call them the GQ couple.
That's right. So I just want I just wanted to say, Mr. Mayor, Superintendent, from a professional standpoint of view, so again, I'm an EMS professional with a local company here in the city. And I have to say that particularly the Metro unit, they do a fantastic job with overdoses. I see them in action. It's almost like they don't need it. They don't need us. We show up, but they really don't do anything because they've done everything. And I've seen them myself save a couple of lives. And just want to put a special kudos to the Metro unit here in the city of Springfield. And also that I have noticed that at least from a medical standpoint, there seems to be improvement with the overall understanding and approach for SPD. And I just want to put that out there because I know there are departments that are heavily oversighted and for good reasons. But also the kudos should be given when they're there. And so I just want to put that out there. And Superintendent, I look forward to hear your presentation. And thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor Davila. Please,
Thank you, Counselor.
Please,
Appreciate those words.
Superintendent Akers, please.
All right, thank you. Now, good afternoon, everyone. Appreciate you having me here. I'm gonna try to make it as quickly as possible because I know this has been a long week for
That's
you all.
okay, you take it.
And I feel like I'm coming down with a little something. That's why I'm separating myself, so.
Chris isn't still here, so.
I hope he's watching this now too.
My whole finance team is out sick and
Oh, jeez.
I happened to be in the office with them yesterday and I don't know.
I hope
But I
you feel
think,
well.
I think Lisa is, on Zoom here.
Yes, she is. Lisa Willis, the budget director, police, is on Zoom. So thank you, Lisa. And she'll be allowed to speak if you need Superintendent Akers.
So, you know, my department is requesting, you know, a total, personal services or personnel services and, OTPS budget of $62,359,826. That's actually a level service budget, but it does include 6.6% increase over the current fiscal. But that's only because of our budgetary obligations that we have to pay at this time. But everything that we're requesting is level service. And that continues, and everything that we're asking for continues to cover our full-time employees, which we have 606, but one of those employees, Stephanie Tonelli, is on a grant. So we'll go with 605 full-time employees. It funds our recruit class of up to 50 people. And that includes their salaries, equipment, onboarding, physicals, psychological, everything that it takes to bring them on board, which my understanding after speaking with Steve Bonacani may even go up a little bit because of the new, the court ruling that we may have to pay what we pay our entry officers. We have to pay our academy staff that also are our recruits as if they are police officers, you know, so.
Even though that was a union agreed to contract, yeah. So we have to,
Even though they're not sworn police officers at that time. Yeah, so I think we're working our way through that. It includes all the necessary software and equipment to maintain our operations. We have 9 square miles of shot spotter that our budget will cover. FTO programs, all the training throughout the police department, all of our specialty units, which are ordnance, K9, Medfield, and all of those units that will cover that. And, just our overtime, our callback, and just everyday operating expenses. My request should cover all of that. And once again, the only increase would be our obligation to, for contracts.
Do you, Superintendent Akers or Chief Akers, because we're checking now, we don't know what's gonna happen on the federal level. Kathy, they have they're really not affected that much on the federal grants or money coming in. Okay, so that's good to know because, overall it's about 55 million on the city, okay, so he would not be, let's say, directly affected, he could be indirectly, but not, okay, I'm sorry, chief.
No, that's fine. I just wanted to hit on a couple of highlights from this current fiscal year in 2024. First, I think the main highlight is, and I have to thank you and Kathy and her team and Chris and everyone that was involved for the city allowing us to push through our Axon package. I think that's going to help our department tremendously. And that is a big highlight for me to even speak on, even though it's very recent. I just wanted to mention that because that's gonna go a long way for us. And I also wanted to, talk about our upcoming academy, which graduates May 1st. And it was 47 people as of yesterday, now there's 46. Unfortunately, one of our recruits didn't make it through EVOC, and that's our emergency vehicle training, and which is run by the state police, which I'm gonna see what I can do about making some changes there too. I think we have our own academy. We should be able to run our own, everything in our academy. We should be able to run it, but we are, and that person that didn't make it is coming back on as a cadet. Because they still have more time and they can defer and try to get into the next academy. I'm crushed that, they go through 20 weeks, they have 6 weeks left and then something like that, it ends there, for the time being it ends, but that's the way it is. And, that's what we'll take. In 2024, our officers responded to about 223 calls for 223,000 calls for service. That's more than 610 calls per day. And we made approximately 3,151 arrests. As you stated earlier, our homicide rate, God, I hate to say this because
Mr. Fisher would say it all the time.
It decreased by 45%. And and we had a 77% clearance rate.
Which is
Right.
usually the average in the 50 or
Right around 55%.
nationally.
And it floats, but it's right around 55%,
Could you explain what that means?
Case is solved, case is solved. Our clearance rate, whether it be solved by arrest or exceptional clearance, which it could be someone that, maybe someone died, before an arrest was made or something like that. But out of 17 homicides, we solved 13 last year.
Okay.
And it'll go on last year, but we're well on our way to taking care of a couple more of those also. We think that solve some.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Davila, go ahead.
yeah, just a clarifying question, Superintendent. So what's the, I'm gonna call it the solving rate of murders in the city? How many murders get solved?
77%.
77%. Okay. And you say that the murders have gone up 45%?
No. They went
Oh,
down.
they go down 45. Okay. I thought it was gonna have
We're down nearly 50% from
okay.
the prior year. One is too many. Larry and I agree.
I agree. And what's the 50? Sorry.
Go ahead, Councilor.
And was it 55% that I heard?
It was about, I always say near 50%, but I think it was 45%, right?
45,
because one got added on.
And I hate to ask, but how many did we have last year?
I believe we have 32.
The prior.
Last year we have 17.
17. 32 was a couple of years back. I remember that. That was about a year.
2 years back. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, 17. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Superintendent. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah. We had a total of 313 illegal firearms seized department-wide. That be by FIU, Uniform Squad, and whoever in the department, and included 116 large capacity firearms. We had 20 ghost guns and 20 Sear selector or Glock switches, which make the weapons fully automatic. Our number of victims of gun violence went down by 20%, which, you know, actually comes into, we're getting more guns off the street, crime is going down, then our victims of gun violence is also gonna go down, which that's something that I'm proud of that took place. And you already talked about the decrease in crime that we had.
Yeah.
And, and also in even motor vehicle thefts, which have been a big problem over the last couple of years with our TikTok challenges and this, that, and the other. We actually decreased, motor vehicle theft by 20%, last year, and we decreased burglaries by 9%. Unfortunately, our robberies went up by 9% also, so, we still have some work to do. I implemented a new neighborhood stabilization unit, which is combining our C3 units, our metro units together. So, no longer should we have any neighborhood that was covered by a C3 that's not, doesn't have resources, because we pulled everyone together. We get together at the beginning of each shift and decide where the most pressing matters are. And we send people to different places. So not just north, everyone gets together and they go to every neighborhood.
And I commend you on that sheet because you're being innovative because we're shorthanded.
Yes,
And at one time with fire and police, we were ahead of attrition or staying equal. We're getting close back with fire. But the police has been difficult through some challenging years, and moms and dads that don't want their young daughter or son to become police officers. We hope the pendulum swung, but you combined everything together. They have the same clauses that they were after, and then target it and go. So really helps out each and every one of our neighborhoods moving forward. And the C3, as with the Flex Ordnance Squad, is hugely popular with our neighborhoods. And when you go to some of those meetings, a lot of times you're not hearing about, and again, we're an urban center, we got plenty of good here, but at times crime is gonna happen. It means that sometimes you don't even hear about crime, you hear about quality of life stuff.
Right.
And that's where the Flex Squad comes in.
Right. And they do a good job, I've also implemented our professional standards unit, which used to be our settlement agreement unit, because they do far more than just the DOJ settlement agreement. So I brought them together, gave them extra body there, and now they deal with our policies, our accreditation, because we want to be accredited. They still deal with our settlement agreement, but they're also dealing with our post and our police academy. So it just helps streamline efficiency and eliminate that silo effect. We're trying to get a little bit more for a little bit more bang for the buck, with them, and they do a great job.
And I commend you and your team and Captain Belleville and our Solicitor Bonacani. We've really made a tremendous amount of headway in working with DOJ, and I think that you're gonna continue to see that progress as we move into the spring and your leadership. And I understand Board Chairman Al Tranghese said to me the other day that we had we hold the regular community meetings. It was at the Ray Jordan Senior Center on the updates, and they said there was really, people were saying, geez, we see the much progress that has been made there.
Right.
And there wasn't that, limited a crowd that attend from. So we've come a long way on that, and with your leadership and Ambassador, we want to have the best police department possible. So I appreciate that.
And that's what we're pushing for. And yes, as far as the community engagement, we're really pushing. We picked up on that. I mean, we do a lot in the community. And we probably do, we absolutely do over 300 meetings a year. That's not including our new community engagement that we work through with the DOJ. we do 320 something a year. We get together, with the schools. We do so many give backs. We do over 20, coffee with a cop and, you know, so we're out there. We're trying to make it happen. And I think that the lower numbers, you'll have some people that'll argue that, oh, people aren't coming because they're not interested. No, that's not the
We
case.
send out the robocalls, we send out the blasts and everything on. And last night at the Gray House annual spaghetti, meatball supper, which Tim Allen always, is part of too. They honored our C3 North End unit.
Right, yes.
They said they couldn't thank them enough for what they do. Well, no.
Right, so we were doing a lot, we're doing a lot, and as you mentioned, yes, with the settlement agreement, I'm hoping we have, another meeting in front of the federal judge, May 14th. And I'm hoping that we, go into the compliance stage and, you know, the implementation stage will be over for us. I can't predict what anyone will do, but, we're right on it. I mean, we've done everything. We've been diligent to do the things that, you know, they have requested that we do. So I'm hoping that, we can get out of this phase and go into that compliance stage for the next couple of years and get this done with, you know? So I don't want to keep boring everyone.
No.
And stuff like that.
This
So,
is your time.
you
You
know,
can highlight a lot of the good things that are going on and that, you know, challenges that we do face. too.
yeah, and those are the things, you know, throughout last summer, you remember I, brought back in, and I say I, and it's just not me because I have a great team around me. I have hundreds of, good women and men on the police department that help me out every day. And, but we put the walking posts back out there.
Yeah.
We reestablished the park and walks to where the everyday cruises that you see, they have to park a certain amount of time and walk through the neighborhoods that they patrol. I'm also gonna be putting out overtime details for walking posts, just that's what they do. They walk through the neighborhoods, they get to reacquaint themselves with the people in the neighborhoods again. I think that that's what we're missing. I think that once we start doing that, it will help, you know, build those bridges, and I think that it would help the community come back on board with us because we've been so separated by technology. You know, we ride in that car and we're going from call to call to call to call. People don't really know us. They think we're robots. And, you know, I'm trying to get the department back to the point to where people actually know the officers that patrol their sectors. You know, so, those are just a few things that we've been doing. I'm looking towards doing it, this summer and soon. There's been a lot of conversation about the bikes.
Yeah.
I did reply to some emails. I don't know if you saw it. You were probably sitting in here, your meeting. Excuse me.
You want some water, Larry?
If there's water here.
We'll grab one for you.
Yeah, so,
Thanks.
we're putting things, we've already started implementing those details for the bike details. We've already had one or two go out, but those are dictated by, many things. RTAC, you know, our real-time center, looking at it, seeing what's out there, community complaints, weather, you know, and that's how we determine how we're gonna put it out there. And we have some new tactics that we're putting out there, but I don't really want to mention those.
I
because those are,
got you.
You know, out of tactical integrity.
I got you. The
I
times
don't
of
want
year
that
that
out.
I understand. I got you.
So-
That's fine with me.
So, yeah, so we're gonna be out there and we're gonna be handling that. And I've heard a lot about that recently, about what's getting ready to happen with the motorcycles and the bicycles, and they're already out. The weather's nice, but we're gonna do whatever we can to nip that in the bud as soon as we can. And, so that in a nutshell, the 3%
Yeah.
that we're looking at.
That's him. I asked every cabinet, but how would it affect direct services to the residents, business community or customer service type stuff?
Well,
Commissioner.
Well, I think we have a lean budget. I think that, you know, no matter what we do is going to affect it, but if we have to do it, then that's exactly what we're gonna have to do. You know, I'm looking right now at things like, our automobile repair. Now, not the repairs to just get the cars up and running, but just the auto body repairs, we spend a lot on that. And, so I'm looking to pull back on that, and hopefully we'll be assisted by, the officers not having as many accidents as they've been having. Hopefully that will happen. I'm postponing replacing 2 of our K9 units that we've lost through retirement just very recently. That can save us a little bit of money. We're gonna get an immediate, I'm not going to request an assessment center. We have been talking about assessment centers for captains. That's off the table. We're not gonna do that. We've already had it for the deputy chiefs. So, the captains can wait. We'll just continue with the civil service, testing that they're doing. We're looking at, for the time being, forfeiting the gun buyback program.
Okay.
Because that costs us some money that, that we could save, to make it to that 3%. And also pausing the purchase of a lot of our specialty uniforms. We do have specialty units, motorcycles, honor guard stuff that's expensive task, we have to, but, hopefully, we have enough people in there now to where I can suspend some of that if I have to. But everything that we cut is gonna have some type of a collateral effect, in one way or another, so. But, we understand that that's what's needed, and that's what we're gonna try to do, and, God knows I don't want Kathy yelling and screaming at me, so.
Even the police superintendent fears you. No,
I've
the
been
reason,
very nice to.
no, the reason why I always, and I'm not saying,
Yes, yeah.
Chief, I mean, it's if we had to, and where public safety stands in mind, public safety is always my number one part, but if we had to, not knowing what's going to occur on the federal level, I need to know, and then, especially on the K9 there, but, okay, now your additional request is to, put together another, I'm just reading between the lines, put together another academy then?
It is, actually overall, and I don't know how quickly this could be done. My wish would be to, increase the number of, officers on the street from 514 to 550. And over time, and the reason why I say that, that's an addition of 36 officers.
Yeah.
And I say that because, it's difficult, because even with the academy, with 46 people, if they come out right now, we're still gonna be 23 people short. And that's not even including the 33 officers that we have. 18 are injured on duty. We have 9 that are out long-term sick that chances are will not be coming back. We have 4 on long-term military.
leave.
We have suspensions, and we're always chasing that carrot, and if I could get to that point of 550, I think that would continuously keep a safe amount of people on the street and our resources, because we're always gonna have those injured on duties. We're always gonna have the military, and even more so now, we're gonna have the militaries, because we have the,
The
Heroes Act, thank you. And, I think that we're probably gonna have an increase in that. And, it's a different department now. And so that would be my wish list down the road, is to actually build up the number of officers to really get us to where we're supposed to be now, the 514. But as you know, we're missing 33, and we're always around that level.
And the regular retirements, superintendent or Chief Akers gave really strong words at the promotions that we did at the Elks Lodge this week, and noted, he had mentioned how young this department is.
Very.
Where he has, it's so important with the supervisor, and he stressed that from deputy chief on down, that, hey, you're the young department. You gotta make sure you're on top of these, he or she, about the split-second decisions and your wisdom, but he had made the comment that in the old days, to move from one shift to another could take 10, 15, 20 years. Now you have young officers, he or she moving within 2 to 3 years? I don't know if you want to elaborate on
Two
that.
and a half years. Like when I came on, which was just a few years ago, it was an average of 21 years to get to the day shift. Unless you were put into a bureau and, you made your way that way. Now we're looking at about 2.5 years, maybe 3 years. We have people with absolutely less than 4 years on the day shift and rate the day shift. And that's because all of our older, more experienced officers have retired. And, you know, there's a few people that don't want to leave, like the 4 o'clock shift, that shift suits them, but most of it is just because we don't have the senior people to man that first shift anymore. So we have young people out there. So, you know, you may, in the past, maybe 10 years ago, you go and you wouldn't see anyone on the day shift without, you know, not a seasoned officer. Now it's people have been out of the academy for just a couple of years. And on our third shift, I mean, you have our training officers probably have a year on the job.
Yeah, the field training officer.
Right. The field training officers, I am gonna run through, it's my plan not to send them to the third shift. We're gonna run it through more senior officers through a field training officer program. And they'll be on the day shift and then the 4 o'clock shift. And officers that volunteer to train them, who are the best officers to have trained them because they want to help the other officers. It's not just for the money. It's not just for do negotiation. They actually want to do it. So we're going to be putting those officers with C3 Metro and other volunteer officers from the squad, and we'll be running them through the Metro office and ordinance, traffic. And so I think that'll help us with, you know, certainly our training. So I think it'll be a good deal. And I know that the union is, you know, Patrolman Junior is going through some negotiations right now. And, you know, I certainly won't interfere with that, but I'm moving forward with my field training officer program.
Very thorough, police superintendent, chief, I want to say chief and commissioner, Akers on it. And as you know, there's always appreciate with you and, the men and women in blue do day in and day out. And, we make tremendous, strides, and, we want to continue to move that way also on it. So with that, if you have no further comments, I'm gonna open it up to questions, whether, CFO Kathy Bono, Billy Baker just had to step out, and Councilors, Finance Chair, Allen, and Councilor, Victor Davila, if they have a Kathy. Councilor Allen?
I first have to compliment you on the 2 or 3 months ago when the big program was being doing the technology upgrades and everything. And I complimented Kathy already offline. I thought that the whole presentation of how you guys work together and stuff, that was clearly a big deal. And that was one of the best presentations I've ever seen. And I'm 16 years or something like that on the council. That was terrific. It was big, and the partnership between the two of you was terrific. And gives, when you present like that, it gives you confidence that people, you know, you don't have to be as detailed on the oversight sometimes because people are on their game. That was a great job on that.
Thank you. I'll make sure I pass it along to.
Yeah, the whole team, the way you included the team, and I was like, it was, what could have been difficult was made easy by how well you had orchestrated it, organized it. My only other one is on staffing. I always get confused on staffing, and I understand you got 46 people coming out in May 1st or something. That's gonna bring you to what? Or to? Not gonna.
Well, we're going to, our full
We'll
staff.
still be short staffed.
Yes, by 23,
Right.
and our full staff will be 514, and we'll be 23 short, from that. And that's if everything stays status quo, you know,
And the 23 short of those uniformed people, that's your
they're sworn police officers.
sworn police officer. So even though we get 46, we could use 69, really, is what.
Well,
We gave them
We-
authorization for
And
70.
they did, I was getting ready to say that,
Yeah.
I was approved for that, and I thought that I'd be able to put that in, but once people start going through.
Yeah,
The entry, whatever it be, whether it be psychological, whether it be, Cooper, which is, physical, or whether it be drug testing, you know, we seem to lose, quite a few people. We were on track for that 70 at one point.
All right, so we were aiming for that.
we were able.
How many started? 50?
56.
And,
56 started.
bounce around and Tim, like, Chief Akers, Akers, myself, if he or she is not cutting it in the academy.
Oh, it
No,
needs to
we cut them loose, because we have to make sure we have the very best that go on the street that,
It's a
so-
continuing story. It happened prior to Cheryl and with Cheryl and stuff
Yeah.
that you never get whoever goes in, it's like 80% come out or something.
Well, you know, it used to be, maybe we had 10% attrition.
Mhm.
So say you had 50, maybe you're gonna lose, it's not that way anymore. The last academy we had, we get 28 out of there,
We had 20, well, we ended up with 25.
25. But we started with, I don't wanna say 50, but we started with, was it 40 somewhere near?
Right.
Yeah, so,
Well, this one's better for 46
Oh,
out
yeah.
of 56. That's 80%.
Well, and I'm hoping that we're, you know, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, because we have, we had open houses, you know, for people to come in to see what it's all about. It was up at 50 East Street, and, usually those are very sparsely, no one comes that often, and we had over 70 something
Oh, that's
people.
good.
Cause we've been up in our recruitment, we're doing a few different things to try to get out there and let people see us and, you know, speak to them, and, I'm hoping, you know, that that's a sign, because in the past, we've only had 6 people show up. To have over 70 show up, I'm hoping we're turning the corner, but we'll see.
Well, Bill Mahoney was sitting here a couple hours ago and he's involved in all, and he was talking about the same kind of thing. And he said that there seems to be more interest in city jobs lately, and from his point of view, than there had been. And I know in your jobs particularly, there was that whole national thing about the image of police officers and going down and all, you know. all
We're
that
still
stuff.
fighting it. I mean, we're still fighting it, but you know, we go through that, you know, I'm in my 4th decade now, and every decade we go through that. Something happens, you know?
Yeah.
I can remember in the 80s, we had something happen and everyone started going away from the police, and then unfortunately something bad happens and everyone starts coming back and loving the police, or at least liking the police a little better, you know? And, you know, it seems to we go through cycles like that, you know, and, you know, some warranted, some not, you know, but we go through it, and then, you know, all I can do is just try to make our department better, and, you know, because no matter what happens, something happens in Georgia, we did it. You know, so all I could do is just continue to talk to my officers and
Right.
make them understand that, you know, we have to win this. We have to win this battle.
Chief, if you could let Counselor Allen know, in the old days, wasn't it true people taking the exam, police officers could have been maybe 1,000 to 1,200, now we're down to maybe 250 taking the exam now?
We used to have over 2,000.
Okay,
I mean, we had lists, I mean, there were hundreds and hundreds of people that never even got a chance to get in the room, you know, and that would have been on waiting lists that, I mean, I still talk to people today that never became a police officer, that really, really wanted to be a police officer growing up, and they never, ever got a chance because there were just too many people that was in that room. And, they took the exam and it never got down to them. And, now we take everyone, you know, now it's at the point to where, you know, we may have a couple hundred people that are on our list. And by the time everyone is vetted and we go through the background checks, and, you know, we may be down to about 150, 160. And, you know, we bring all of those in for interviews and stuff like that. By the time it's all done, well, like, we ended up with an academy of 50 something people in the beginning. So it's nowhere near like it used to be, but before it was very difficult to get in unless you really scored high, you know? And then there was a time that went through to where we went 1-to-1. We'd have one minority
we don't have
to one white. We don't have that anymore. I mean,
we're above parity, we're at parity.
Yes,
And it wasn't us that said, hey, we want out. The state told us and told the fire department, you know, Springfield and the fire police done a great. Our department reflects the community of the city of Springfield.
it does, yes, it
And
does.
as I said, from the top all the way down to ranking
That's
bottom.
right.
That was my two questions. I'm all set. So thank you.
Councilor Davila, have any questions?
Yes, thank you. Some quick questions, Mr. Mayor. Superintendent, the FTO that you mentioned, are they, I know we approved the contract not too long ago, but are the FTOs being compensated for the service? So I think that's volunteer or is that voluntold?
That's in negotiations right now with the
It
union.
is negotiation.
You know, if that was going to happen, I thought that I would be able to make that happen, but I've been told that I couldn't do that. But our FTOs, we've already put through a first half of people that have gone through FTO training. And we have another group starting, I think it's next week or the week after. And everyone that's interested in being an FTO is willing to come in and do it on a voluntary basis like they said they would in the past.
But would you mind elaborating, Superintendent, what do you mean that you couldn't, if I understood you correctly, so you wanted to compensate it, but you couldn't? Is that what I think you said?
Well, I can't do that on my own because it's in negotiations. I was misunderstanding that, I would just be able to give them, to pay them out of my overtime budget. But I was told that I cannot do that, so now it's in negotiations and, you know, they'll work that through with the union contract. And,
Okay.
if they don't do it, then, the people that I have on board that are going through the training are willing to do it on a voluntary basis, as they said they would in the first place.
Understood. And now I believe, just some clarifying question. We have an average of 40 to 50% academy loss on recruits. Is that correct? On average?
Did you say 40 to 50%?
Correct.
No,
that
might be the fire department, not us.
Yeah, that is.
Well, I know the commissioner said that last time, but
No, I know.
No disrespect to the fire, but they have smaller academies.
Yeah. No, it was.
So how many?
They had 8, graduated 4.
Yeah.
No, they had,
Yeah.
what I think, Chief Akers is, not putting his words about, and, Commissioner Cal, BJ's the same thing. The last couple of academies, and again, it was, when you went on police or fire, this was your lifetime dream. This was your career.
This was it. Yep.
The last couple of academies, you haven't seen people, you know, we do many academies with fire, and usually maybe you lose 1 or 2. He's right, there was 7, I think only three made it. And then the last couple of academies we had, the last one specifically, we had 20, I forget you said 28 came to 20, actually
25.
25 came through, but it was like 48, 23 didn't make. So the last couple of academies, prior to that, I'd say attrition rates, the old days used to be 10%. So I think we were close to that, maybe a little above it. The last couple have been an anomaly. And again, if you're not, whether it's Commissioner Calvi on fire or Superintendent Akers, Chief Akers, if you're not cutting it in the academy, we're not gonna put you on the street.
Okay. But just, if you could just, Superintendent, give me, I won't hold you to a number, but just rough idea in my head so that I know. If in the old days used to be 10%, now it seems to be higher. What are we at right now, roughly, in academy?
I think we're still about there because we started with 56 and now we're down to 46, so we've lost 10. So
as you said,
so that's what we're looking at. I don't think.
20%. Okay.
Yeah, so, and that was, like I said, we lost a couple just recently and, so unfortunately they did a good job, but, we can't control what happens on the eastern part of the state. We have to go there to train.
No, I got you. I got 2 more quick questions for you, Superintendent, but, staying on the subject of the academy loss, what are some of the main reasons? I know you talked about EVOC, but what are some of the reasons we're losing people?
Academics.
Okay.
We
Same thing,
lose a couple people
fire.
academics. Yes, I mean, you know, you have to, be able to retain the laws and.
I hope
so
so.
on and so forth.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
yeah, so we lose some academics and like I said, I think EVOC, you know, last academy, we came close to losing one EVOC, but she really stepped up her game and came through in the end. This
Right.
time we lost one and they're gonna be deferred and come back in the next academy.
Gotcha. Now, Superintendent, I think you mentioned that we have some guys in leadership that are coming up to retirement. The retirement age, no point intended, is 65. Is that right?
Yes, you have to retire at 65 unless you're me.
65. Okay. I said no point intended. So, and so, I just want to say, I make sure I heard you correctly. So we have some guys that are willing to stay past the retirement age to help some of the younglings, correct?
No, not retirement age. I don't ever recall mentioning that. I don't know anyone that is past retirement age that wants to come in and help officers. I'm not really sure where you're going with that.
No, that's why I'm asking a clarifying question. So we can probably do it offline, but I just wonder if there's any way that we can, those people who have to retire, who may want to stay for whatever reason, if there's a way that we can help them, because like you said, we're losing a lot of people. It's an ever-changing number. It's like trying to be a snake. And so
it can't affect the law and liability fact. We did go working with the legislature pass for retirees that they could do extra duty jobs,
SPOs, yeah.
which has been beneficial, but you couldn't do that.
Right. Like I say, thinking outside of the box and bringing solutions potential solutions to what is a potential problem. So what is a problem? We, you know, one of the things that I worry, not only fire, police, city hall. By the way, if you allow me, Mr. Mayor, I want to send kudos to, I believe I see Daisy Loresana behind you from the city council. Daisy, she's a rising star. Good job, Daisy. I'm glad to have you at the city council. And
way back there in the bleacher seats.
That's right. I can see you, Daisy. She's
Learning about
excellent.
the city.
Yeah. So Superintendent, Mr. Mayor, so I'm just saying, you know, we of course, it's a conversation for later, but I envision a way that we can retain that knowledge because we have a young force, and so it's fire and police, and so just putting that out there. Now, Mr. Mayor, if I may, and Superintendent, unfortunately, recently there was a murder on Orange Street near Valero. It's not my district, technically that's Ward 3. But it's still part of Forest Park. And
well, it's borderline there. Yeah, it's borderline.
Yep. So it's technically, at least for councilor purposes, it's not my district. However, we all happily serve all over the city. And I know we cannot disclose locations of cameras, but I was specifically asked if we can look at that corner because that's a troublesome corner to possibly install some cameras. I did reach out to Chris first yesterday. I think it was yesterday, Chris Ignoli. But you know, I will have a conversation with you guys later because that area needs. And I know you guys have been paying attention to it. And the C3 is part of the C3 footprint. They're doing a good job. The Forest Park C3. But if we can pay special attention, I don't know if we do. That's I don't have the clearance for that, Mr. Mayor. But
no, I know that. Senior Captain Tred Duda, who people will tell you is Larry takes it one of the best in the business on it. I know they're reviewing tapes, but I could be wrong. I'll defer to superintendent or I'll defer to. I think we do. I think there are some cameras in that Forest Park area.
Well, we certainly have.
I mean,
cameras
you
in the area,
can't say.
but I can't tell you exactly where it is.
Yeah, you can't. It's an investigation right now, but. Yeah,
I understand. So with that being said, Superintendent, you're in close competition with the mayor for the best looking dress guy here in the city. And so, Superintendent, from the bottom of my heart, I say thank you for your work. Thank you.
thank you, Council Davila, and I want to thank, Councilor Tim Allen, who's the finance chair, and, Councilwoman Zeta Govan, who's, Ward 8. They've been very faithful in attending, budget hearings, and this is where the meat and potatoes and nuts and bolts gets grinded. You can ask any question you want, and now, CAFO, Kathy Bunnell and the finance team, and I commend them for the great work. We'll put together a budget. At that point in time, we'll announce what the budget buys and what we can do, what we can't do. And simultaneously, that budget will go to the council, and then they will do their due diligence and call their hearings. And then after that, we'll call council will call an overall, meeting in which I'll present again with cabinet heads and department heads and take any questions they might have. And then we're hopeful to work together to pass, another balanced, budget. But we await what might occur or what might not occur on the federal level with, pending, cuts. So we have to be cognizant of that. But, you know, it wasn't last but not least, but I think, Police Superintendent Akers and, Commissioner Calvi know that public safety is always my number one priority on it, but, so I'm glad we got it done in 1 week. Yes, go ahead, Councilman.
If I may ask you a clarifying question, if you can.
Yeah.
As you were just making your closing statements, and this just happened, I believe, yesterday with regard at the federal level with the executive order to dismantle the Department of Education. And I know this on the education side. We should be all set. If this was going to go through, we should be all set for this fiscal year, correct? At least in any kind of education funding?
No.
Yeah.
We don't, because here, their budget runs on a different, calendar year than we do. We're already where we have that, EPA, grant, which was $20 million, which was already awarded to us. Gone. So I wear my, my school department chairman hat. The schools could face $75 million in cuts, and the major cuts would be. So again, we don't rule anything off the table because there's things that were okay that they're taking away. But let's say the upcoming year, 75 million, 26 million in Title I funding. That's programs. That's right in classrooms. $26 million free lunch, 7-point-something million disability education. Those are the main things there. If now the president has said, President Trump has said, well, we're gonna funnel that money down through the states. Okay, what's the formula? We don't know what the formula will be. Will Springfield get its fair share? The other thing too is that, as Governor Healy Morris said publicly, and I was with her a couple times last week, $16 billion of federal money they received for the state budget. Speaker Ron Mariano indicated, hey, the cavalry's not coming. So if you look into the state to help you, we have to fill our holes. So, you know, we want to know what's going to happen or what's not going to happen so we can properly plan. And we don't, Kathy, she was monitoring, we don't know. And Congressman Neil Ritchie, you know, is my direct kind. He's great. He he keeps us apprised of on it, but we'll go from there.
Well, if I may say, Kathy, I hope you have a big bottle of talent on your desk because I realize this is very. But Mr. Mayor, I just want to echo your concerns. You know, this is also a very unsteady time. Times that we don't know what the heck's going to happen. And if this was going to happen, if this was to materialize, the dismantling of the Department of Education, this will be catastrophic for the city of Springfield. We hope for the best, like you say, but I'm sure that the team will do its due diligence. We will do our due diligence in the city council. And so, good job, Mr. Mayor. Again, thank you for inviting us.
Thank you.
We look forward to
Thank you, everybody. And for those that are going to be viewing this, and thank you, Jeanette DeForge, Republican. She's been faithfully here. Also, go out, have a great day, good health, and God bless. Thank you very, very much.